drone capabilities. Minutes before the close, the Dow was up 468 points. The S&P 500 was down 16 points. The NASDAQ was down 265 points. From Creative Planning, I'm Anthony Priester, wishing you and your family a happy and safe 4th of July weekend.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
77 years ago,
I am a real American.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Fight for the rights of every man.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I am a real American.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Fight for the rights of every man.
We will make America proud again.
I am a real American.
We will make America safe again.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
And we will make America great again.
And we are trying our best to uphold the greatness of America each and every afternoon here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Welcome to a special edition, 250 years to the day, today, that America did, in fact, formally declare its independence from Great Britain. How, you ask? Why is it that we celebrate July 4th? We will get into that and much, much more on a special edition of the program. Yes, July 2nd, 1776 was actually the day that many founders, including John Adams, believed would be celebrated because the Continental Congress passed the Lee Resolution, formally declaring that the colonies were independent from Great Britain. In fact, the day after the vote, Adams wrote a celebratory letter back home to his wife, Abigail, from Philadelphia. He wrote, "The second day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows, with games, with sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore." Well, he was off by 2 days, but close enough. Today, though, July 2nd, an incredibly important day in American history. And it is going to be a special edition of this program as we reflect on this country at 250. Yes, we will still bring you the news of the day. We've got significant developments in the story of the crazy trans activist who declared that she, he, z, zer, whatever, wanted to kill your local Republican and urged her supporters to do just that, and urging supporters to enact a, quote, trans jihad. Well, that staffer has since been fired by the trans Democrat congressional candidate, Katrina DeVille. DeVille said in an email to the New York Post today that that person was fired. It was a volunteer campaign worker. They were fired after it became clear that they were mentally unstable. You don't say. So we will get into some of the news of the day, but a lot of the day is going to be devoted to this country, its history, stories, reflections on America's 250th, and not just from me, from you as well. All throughout the show, we are welcoming you. We want you to call in with your thoughts on where we are as a nation, where we are as a people on this, the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence from Great Britain. 414-799-1130 is our Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line. And if you can't get through on the phones, we are expecting we're going to have a lot of people who want to get in, and just general thoughts about America at 250, what this country is all about, your thoughts, your plans on how to celebrate America 250, just where we are, your thoughts about this country. Any and all reflections will be accepted. But if you can't get through on the phones, always you can text us or you can shoot me an email, dod@iheartmedia.com. You can follow me on social media and write your comments while watching the live video stream at Dan O'Donnell Show on X. We're also streaming facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. You can also find us on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, as the kids say. And please do follow the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts. And it's not just July 4th, 1776. That is a date that needs to be celebrated forever. It is also 200 years ago, July 4th, 1826, the only day in American history that two presidents of this country died. They died on the exact same day. And that day just happened to be the 50th anniversary of the ratification of the Declaration of Independence. One of those was, in fact, John Adams. And we will tell the story of July 4th, 1826, coming up later on here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Now, in his letter back to Abigail, July 3rd, 1776, John Adams said he knew that there were going to be a whole lot of challenges, that just declaring independence was not going to be enough. Obviously, the British Crown wasn't going to let the colonies go without something of a fight, but he was optimistic. He knew that America back then was something worth fighting for. And if the colonists hung together, as Benjamin Franklin famously said, they would avoid hanging separately. He wrote in this letter, "You will think me transported with enthusiasm, but I am not. I am well aware of the toll and blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration and support and defend these states. Yet through all the gloom, I can see the rays of ravishing light and glory. I can see that the end is worth more than all the means, and that posterity will triumph in that day's transaction." So July 2nd was a very significant date that most people completely gloss over, because obviously the 4th of July just sort of has a better ring to it than the 2nd of July for the day that we celebrate our independence. But Congress, the Continental Congress, voted to adopt Richard Henry Lee's resolution declaring the colonies to be free and independent states. This actually, not the Declaration of Independence, was the legal and political break from the crown. And Adams saw this as the core achievement, that he was able to get the votes together from all of the colonies to declare themselves to be independent. It wasn't until 2 days later that Congress approved the final text of the Declaration of Independence, which explained the reasons for the vote that was taken 2 days earlier to the rest of the world. Now, Adams realized just how important the Declaration of Independence was, but he considered the vote for independence to be the foundational act, to be the thing that was most important. Now, of course, today, we recognize that it is, in fact, the Declaration of Independence that is the primary document that we celebrate and that we mark our nation's beginning from the ratification thereof. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of how that declaration came to be. On June 11th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress appointed what was known as the Committee of Five. John Adams, a delegate from Massachusetts, Benjamin Franklin, the elder statesman of the Revolution from Pennsylvania, Thomas Jefferson from Virginia, Robert R. Livingston from New York, and Roger Sherman of Connecticut to draft a formal statement justifying the move for independence. Now, this followed Richard Henry Lee's resolution calling for the separation from Great Britain, which was passed very narrowly on July 2nd. The committee left no minutes, leading to some uncertainty and later conflicting recollections from Jefferson and Adams decades afterward. But what we know about the crafting of the Declaration of Independence was that it was largely Thomas Jefferson's own words with just minor editorial guidelines by the rest of the committee. The committee discussed the document's general outline and structure, and Jefferson later recalled that the others unanimously pressed him to write the first draft because he was the best writer, though Adams later on claimed he persuaded Jefferson because the Virginia was a stronger writer than he was, but primarily because he had far fewer political enemies in the Continental Congress. Adams reportedly declined the task himself, saying he would be hooted for it. Jefferson was just 33 years old, and he largely wrote the draft himself, isolating himself between June 11th and June 28th in the second-floor parlor of a rented 3-story brick house at the corner of 7th and Market Streets in Philadelphia, what is now known as the Declaration House. Congress was in session and busy, so he didn't have a whole lot of uninterrupted time and composed the Declaration very, very quickly. Jefferson was a genius, a wonderkind who wasn't just a man with a way with words, he was also an inventor. And in fact, in a little-known detail about the crafting of the Declaration of Independence, he actually wrote it on the laptop of its day, a laptop that he designed. It was a portable writing desk. He called it a writing box that he had cabinet maker Benjamin Randall of Philadelphia make up for him. It was a compact mahogany box with a hinged, adjustable, sloped writing board and a locking drawer for paper, pens, and an inkwell. It was very practical for someone who was constantly on the move, like Thomas Jefferson. He had it made after losing an earlier design at sea. The original desk on which he wrote the Declaration of Independence does survive at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. Jefferson drew on existing ideas, including his own prior writings, as well as the Virginia Declaration of Rights written by George Mason, and broader influences from the period of the Enlightenment, aiming to express the American mind, as he called it, rather than invent entirely new principles. He produced a rough draft and showed it privately to Adams and Franklin for corrections before preparing a copy for the broader full committee. The committee loved it. They made only minor changes, and Congress started debating the draft on July 2nd, making a few further edits, including a number that Jefferson disliked, but keeping the core principles intact. One major deletion that Jefferson despised condemned King George III himself for the slave trade and blaming him for imposing it on the colonies. That was removed to avoid controversy, especially with Southern delegates. As with much during the Revolutionary period in the formation of America, there was compromise. Compromise that, in hindsight, looks to be unforgivable, but back then was necessary because of how dependent the Southern colonies, later the Southern states, were on slave labor. Congress adopted the final text of the Declaration on July 4th, 1776. It was printed overnight by John Dunlap as broadsides for distribution. These became known as the famous Dunlap broadsides. Now, after the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration, it needed to be disseminated. As you could imagine, there was no Kinko's back in revolutionary America. So the committee rushed to Dunlap's print shop near the Delaware River in Philadelphia and took the document, likely in Jefferson's own handwriting, to a 29-year-old Irish immigrant and the official printer to Congress. He worked through the night with his apprentices and produced an estimated 100 to 200 broadsides, large single-sheet prints about 18 by 14 inches on one side of cotton fiber paper, some with watermarks, including ironic ones that were put in for a laugh from King George III's own paper. Now, these were not fancy copies. They were simple typesetting that were produced for speed. The text is very close on those Dunlap broadsides to the original version, but it does lack the full list of signatures on the Declaration of Independence. In fact, only John Hancock, the president of the Continental Congress, and Charles Thompson, the secretary, are in fact named on a good majority of those Dunlap broadsides. Congress immediately ordered copies distributed to the states, the committees of safety, the Continental Army's commanders, and for public readings and postings throughout the colonies. Now, the broadsides spread the news very, very rapidly. The very first public readings of the Declaration of Independence occurred on July 8th in Philadelphia by Colonel John Nixon, as well as in Trenton, New Jersey. Local printers across the colonies used the broadsides as copies for their own editions, helping the Declaration of Independence reach across the new nation, sometimes taking several weeks. A copy even made its way all the way to England. Of the estimated original print run of the Dunlap broadsides, only 26 are known to survive today, scattered among various institutions. About 20 to 23 are in the care of the United States government, the National Archives, the Library of Congress, several University of Virginia, for example, several historical societies. There are a couple in the United Kingdom, including one that was just discovered at the National Archives in Kew, just discovered in 2009. A small number are in private hands, and what's remarkable is discoveries continue. In 1949, there were only 14 known, what are known as original copies of the Declaration of Independence, the Dunlap broadsides, but the count grew with finds like the one at a $4 free flea market in 1989. There was a Dunlap broadside, believe it or not, an original copy of the Declaration of Independence bought behind a painting. Someone bought a painting for $4 at a flea market back in '89, and behind it, an original copy of the Declaration of Independence. July 4th, 1776 was the day that the Declaration of Independence was ratified. The United States would not really become a nation until the war was won. And in fact, the quest for freedom, even the Declaration itself, was a long process. In fact, it was not signed by July 4th. It was signed primarily on August 2nd, with signatures added over the following months as delegates arrived in Philadelphia. When we come back here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, the story of the most famous signature, John Hancock. Why was it so big? And also the furious ride of Caesar Rodney, a little known footnote in history, but the man who just might have ensured that July 4th, 1776 is a day we celebrate at all. That is all coming up right here on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Ready to sell your house? This is Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty and Auction. Here's what you need to know. 1, hiring an agent isn't about how big the brokerage is. It's not about how well you recognize their name, and it's certainly not about how many buyers they pretend to have. Every well-respected brokerage is going to market your home in MLS, and we all use the same MLS system. That's what MLS is all about, marketing on a perfectly level playing field. Every buyer and every agent will know your home is for sale, no matter what agent you hire. So where are the differences? Why is Redefined Realty and Auction the right choice? It's because of the auction. Nobody does it like we do. The auction provides buyers with total price transparency. It provides buyers with the opportunity they crave, the opportunity to place a higher bid. Buyers will love that you gave them the opportunity to bid higher. They'll love that you didn't force them to guess at a price. The price in an auction is totally transparent. When all the buyers can see the prices, they bid more and they push the sales price up to the max. Sell with Redefined Realty and Auction and achieve the best price guaranteed. When buyers bid, sellers win. RedefinedRealty.com.
From playing catch with the kids to carrying your groceries, your shoulders, elbows, wrists, and hands do it all. But when pain limits your motion, it's time to see Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Receive personalized treatment plans to restore your strength and movement. Schedule today at orthowisconsin.com.
Divergent Family Law offers free consultations for divorce and flat rate quotes so you can make informed decisions about your next steps. Our experienced attorneys are committed to helping you understand your rights and options. Your fair share or better, divergentfamilylaw.com.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
If you're looking for a place to grow spiritually in the middle of a busy life, InTouch.org is designed for you. Explore practical biblical teaching from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, free study guides, and messages that speak to real-life challenges. Whether you're searching for direction, comfort, or a deeper understanding of God's Word, you'll find tools to help you take the next step. Discover resources that meet you right where you are at InTouch.org.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Opinion, emotion, passion. This is News Talk 1130 WISN.
I just want to say I listen to you on iHeartRadio.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
One of my favorite pieces of American music. This is Hoedown from Rodeo, or The Hoedown by Aaron Copland, probably best known as the Beef It's What's for Dinner commercial from the 1990s and early 2000s. This was used very prominently at the opening ceremony of the Salt Lake City Winter Olympic Games. It is just, for my money, one of the best pieces of American music ever composed. Put that up, producer Eric. Let's hear it. Absolutely love it. Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show as we are celebrating 250 years since America first declared its independence from Great Britain. You want to wow people with your historical knowledge at your 4th of July parties. Say, yeah, we're sort of celebrating the wrong day. America actually formally declared its independence from Great Britain on July 2nd with what was known as the Lee Resolution. That was when the Continental Congress actually said, we are free and independent colonies. We are a separate nation. But it, in fact, was not until July 4th that the Continental Congress ratified the Declaration of Independence. Now, the Declaration of Independence was actually just the explanation that Thomas Jefferson, a 33-year-old delegate to the Continental Congress, had in conjunction with John Adams and Benjamin Franklin and 2 other delegates to explain to the rest of the world why they were doing what they were doing. This was something that just wasn't done. The British Empire was at the absolute height of its power. War was inevitable. And nobody actually thought that, A, the United States of America would exist as an independent nation for very long, or ever, that the revolution would very quickly be put down, and B, that this was just something that wasn't done. So Jefferson, and it is believed that these are entirely the words of Thomas Jefferson himself, explained in the first two lines, two of the most famous lines ever written in world history, and certainly two of the most impactful. He declared with one unified voice on behalf of the Continental Congress and behalf of the colonies that they were and always had been free and independent states. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. That, in about 4 sentences, is America in a nutshell. All men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, not by government, not by other human beings. This was a revolutionary concept, even though it draws very, very deeply from biblical tradition, that God creates all human beings in his likeness, and that those human beings are made in the image of the divine and also have rights that themselves come from the divine. Because we are chosen by God amongst all creatures, we have rights that no other creature has. And those come not from a king, not from a government, but from God himself. Among these, not the only rights, but among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not the acquisition of happiness, but the pursuit of happiness. And that in order to secure these rights, governments are instituted by the consent of the people who would be governed. They are not instituted by virtue of a divine proclamation. God doesn't institute kings in the world. God gives individuals autonomy. Individuals then have, because they have this autonomy, the ability to form government. Government is illegitimate if it does not have the consent of the governed. This, again, was such a revolutionary concept. It is now the basis of what we understand to be democratic government, but it really was foreign in that world. And that's why the Declaration of Independence was so important. It's sort of like the thesis statement of America in those first 4 sentences. So why was John Hancock the biggest signature on that document by far? Hancock was a very wealthy merchant in Boston. In fact, he, along with Samuel Adams, were considered to be among the most important figures in the Revolution, the early Revolution, because they were the ones who were financing it. And he didn't just sign the Declaration like that. In fact, there are a number of signatures from Hancock that still survive. He signed pretty much every document like that. As one of the richest men in all of the colonies, he was a pretty ostentatious guy. He was not above throwing his wealth around, and his penmanship sort of matched that flare. It was consistently large, consistently elaborate, and consistently flowing. But why did he sign it so big? Now, the story has emerged, and I'm sure you've probably been told this, that he signed it so large so that King George could read my name without his spectacles. This story didn't emerge until many, many years later, probably sometime in the 1820s, 1830s. There was no contemporary evidence that this was true. And in fact, as we learned in the last segment of this show, the Declaration largely stayed in America. It was not actually sent to the king himself. The king was well aware of what was going on. And he eventually, I believe, did see a copy, but it was not until years later. So why did he sign it that big? Well, he was the president of the Continental Congress, and he was the very first to sign it. Do you know the day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence? It was not July 4th. It was not July 2nd. It was actually August 2nd, 1776. The vast majority of the delegates to the Continental Congress were able to get to the document. They were able to put their names on it. Some refused to sign. In fact, there were a number who famously refused to sign because they didn't agree with some language or another. There were, remember, domestic political disputes as well as the big dispute with England. Hancock very likely believed that he was only going to be the one, he was going to be the only one who signed it. And in fact, that is the working theory here, because his signature is right front and center, directly below the text. His signature is actually 4 to 5 inches wide and over an inch tall. That is a big signature. It indicates that he thought he was only going to sign it. Then everybody else signed it. Now, because he was the first signer, he, of course, had a lot of room, and he very likely underestimated just how many other signatories there would be. If you take a look at the original, the document that was actually signed, some are very, very small. So this was likely the real reason. He just had a flair for the dramatic. He did everything big. He lived big. He signed his name big. But the real reason, very likely, because he thought he was going to be the only one whose signature was really needed. And in fact, it wasn't originally planned that everybody was going to sign on. They all just figured, hey, you know what? Whoever signs this document, if we lose this war, we're all going to be killed. In fact, Benjamin Franklin is quoted as saying, this is another story that might be apocryphal, but it just sounds like Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Gentlemen, we must now hang together, or most assuredly, we shall all hang separately." How did it happen that all of the colonies were able to sign on? How is it that all of the colonies were able to vote for independence? It almost didn't happen. There was a patriot by the name of Caesar Rodney who was very sick, but rode through the night to make it for the vote on July 2nd, 1776. We will tell his story when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns in just a minute.
Podcast world is filled with grifters who will say anything for clicks. I'm Mark Belling, and I will never say something I don't believe and can't back up. The Mark Belling Podcast is back on iHeart or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Belling Podcast is presented by Uline. For quality shipping and industrial supplies, Uline has everything in stock. Visit uline.com. The Mark Belling Podcast is also supported by Annex Wealth Management. The Mark Belling Podcast is now available at iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Just doing some roofing on another lovely Wisconsin day.
You know, there's just something about Wisconsin in May. The grills come out, the brats hit the flame, the flag goes up on the porch. Up north, the cabins are opening back up. The tarps are coming off the boats. My friends at Old Fashioned Roofing are part of that tradition. They're veteran-owned, real veterans, Wisconsin folks, not the kind of veteran-owned where some holding company throws a flag on a website. The kind who served, came home, and went to work. Building a company where a handshake still matters. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, no pressure. So this month, when you raise a glass and shake a hand, remember the folks who built their company the same way. Give them a call at 262-229-8909 or visit them at oldfashionedroofing.com.
So raise a glass, shake a hand for this old-fashioned brand. Whoop, that's old-fashioned roofing.
Hello?
Mr. Hoban?
Yes.
Hi, this is Amy from First American Bank. I got your message that you called, and I'm calling you right back.
Okay, I'll hold.
Oh, I'm not putting you on hold.
I'll just finish my tuna fish sandwich here and stay on hold until you get back to me.
No, Mr. Hoban.
Can you make it before the end of the day, though? I have a gentle yoga class at 7.
Mr. Hoban, are you new to First American Bank?
Yeah, I figured you got to be better than the big bank I was at. But I'm ready to hold now.
Mr. Hoban, I'm not putting you on hold.
What?
First American Bank is built on superb customer service. Huh. So besides offering the best loan deals in town, cash management service, and more, if we can't take your call right away, we call you back as soon as possible. First American Bank thinks of it as treating our customers like family. You treat your family with consideration and respect, right?
Can you put me on hold while I think about that?
Mr. Hoban.
First American Bank, the bank that does more for your money. Visit firstambank.com or call us at 262-574-2400. We're FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
50 states, one national mall, 2 weeks of freedom. The Great American State Fair opens June 25th in Washington, D.C. All 50 states. Live music and rodeo, innovation, arts, culture, and American patriotism. Every day brings a new theme celebrating the best of who we are, capped by the largest fireworks display in the world on July 4th. This is for every American. Admission is free. Plan your trip at freedom250.org. Freedom 250, the Great American State Fair. Be there.
Dan Voss at Cut and Go. We're celebrating America's 250th birthday with History Trees. In World War I, artists drew, measured, then created exact replicas of severely damaged trees on active battlefields, then recreated them out of iron. Under cover of total darkness, Americans cut the original tree down and installed the replica with no one the wiser. The iron camouflage trees hid American patriots in plain sight.
Sonny Voss here. That's the American Ingenuity my dad imported, inventing the remote control, truck-mounted, articulated grapple saw, cut and goes operators use to safely put your dead trees on the ground or remove branches that grew over something important.
Cut and Go will trim large branches or remove your dead trees. Grind and Go removes eyesore, trip hazard stumps. And Plant and Go implements maximum beauty and benefit new, potentially historic tree planting plans.
Happy 250th anniversary Tons of Trees movement. CUTNGOtrees.com.
If you are searching for an island of decency in a sea of media corruption, you're in the right place. Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
What's with the ladder?
And the bowling ball.
I'm testing the unsmushable Qualix Ultra Foam in Penny Mustard's Motion Sectional.
By dropping a bowling ball on it?
Among other things.
Like what?
Let's see. Kettlebell, cinder block, giant bag of sand, tractor tire, a full set of encyclopedias.
You don't have to do this.
The Qualix Ultra Foam seats in our Motion Sectionals have already been proven to stay supportive and comfortable for the life of the sofa.
Plus, it's a motorized recliner that allows you to adjust to the exact centimeter of comfort.
If you'll excuse me, these heavy items aren't going to drop themselves.
Wait, are you also dropping a dog on the sectional?
No, that's a St. Bernard to rescue me when I get trapped under all this stuff.
The forever comfortable Motion Sectional, starting at just $350 a month with no interest till December of 2027 through July 5th at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Unsmushable versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
iHeartRadio FIFA World Cup update.
The U.S. is on to the round of 16, but they'll be without their leading scorer. Coach Mauricio Pochettino doesn't think Flo Balogun should have received a red card last night.
For me, never is a red card. Watching after on TV, and never was the intention.
Balogun will serve a suspension when the U.S. meets Belgium Monday. A win would get the U.S. to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2002.
Download the iHeartRadio app for live Fox coverage of every game.
The talk shows on WISN Radio. Not for the faint of heart and not for the feeble of mind. News Talk 1130 WISN. Fact is, until you've heard us, you haven't heard the whole story.
It is a tour de force of truth. Today, universal truths about America's Declaration of Independence, the founding of this nation, what we celebrate all weekend long, and what we should be celebrating all year long, what we should be celebrating every single day. We are so blessed to be a part of this great country and this great heritage. We are taking a whole lot of time on today's show to sort of step back. Tomorrow is, as I think it is for most of the country, the day that the 4th of July, Independence Day, is observed because, of course, the holiday itself falls on a Saturday. So we are not going to have regular programming tomorrow. I had thought for a little bit about doing a special recorded program, at least 1 hour on America's independence. But yeah, I thought, you know what, let's, in the immortal American words of Bill O'Reilly, bleep it, let's do it live. So pretty much all show, we are going to do reflections on this country. I want to hear from you, ladies and gentlemen. I think for much of next hour, I want to hear from you. What do you think about where we are as a country? We're dealing with the rise of socialism. This is a very, very real thing. Pretty much every poll that is out shows that a substantial amount of Democrats want socialist governance. This is the thing that for a good portion of America's history, we have been fighting. We have been fighting the communists, and now there is a movement within this country that feels comfortable enough, finally rearing its ugly head. It was always a part of this country, really since Karl Marx first put pen to paper. But now it is finally emerging as a real threat. So I want to hear from you. 414-799-1130 on our Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line. Again, 414-799-1130, DOD@iHeartMedia.com in order to reach me via your email. What if I told you that one of the bravest patriots that you've never heard of cast the deciding vote for America's independence? He was sick. He was weakened with cancer and asthma, but he got on his horse at midnight to drive all the way to Philadelphia and cast the deciding vote. His name is Caesar Rodney. Rodney was a lawyer and politician from Delaware. He was a leading officer in the state's militia. He served as a justice, a sheriff. He was a delegate to the Continental Congress. He was a brigadier general in Delaware's militia. He was later president of Delaware, what we would call today governor. And by 1776, he was already very advanced in his health issues. He had facial skin cancer, which he often covered with a scarf or handkerchief, and bad asthma. Despite this, he was as active as anyone in the cause of patriotism. On July 1st, 1776, the delegation in Philadelphia to the Continental Congress from Delaware was deadlocked on the Lee Resolution for Independence. Thomas McKeon favored it while George Read opposed. With the crucial vote looming the following day, July 2nd, McKeon sent an urgent express messenger to summon Rodney, who is in Dover, Delaware, about 70 to 80 miles away, dealing with local threats from the Loyalist forces opposing Delaware's militia. Rodney finally received the message around midnight on July 1st. Despite his health problems, he set out without hesitation for Philadelphia. He used a combination of carriage and horseback and rode through a very violent thunderstorm with heavy rain, thunder, lightning, and flooded streams. He crossed at least 15 rivers or creeks. Many of them had jumped their banks, and the journey took roughly 18 hours. He arrived at the Pennsylvania State House, now known as Independence Hall, on the morning of July 2nd, as it was described at the time, in his boots and spurs. He was muddied, he was exhausted, he was sick, but he had arrived just in time. He voted in favor of America's independence, breaking Delaware's tie and allowing the colony to support the resolution. 12 of the 13 voted yes. New York abstained, at least initially, and paved the way for the formal Declaration of Independence text to be finalized and adopted on July 4th. Rodney himself signed it on August 2nd. That single vote from a small colony changed the course of history. Had Delaware not voted for independence, the movement would have been exposed as not unified at all and would have very likely failed. Rodney's timely arrival helped ensure a strong stand against Britain at that pivotal moment in American history. While historians, of course, have romanticized Paul Revere's ride, Caesar Rodney's might actually have been far more important. After the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Rodney's health was failing, but he still served the cause of patriotism, leading Delaware's troops, governing the state during the war, before dying in 1784 at age 55, very likely from the cancer that he had been fighting for years. A famous statue of him on horseback stands in Wilmington, Delaware's Rodney Square, which commemorates the ride. And every year, during the anniversary of the midnight ride of Caesar Rodney, celebrations and reenactments occur, especially this year on the 250th anniversary of the midnight ride that very likely preserved the colony's movement towards independence and allowed the Declaration to happen. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show. We'll be right back in just a second.
From the Lynch GM Superstore in Burlington, Total Traffic Center.
Southbound on 4145, got a crash on the exit ramp to Hampton. You got to stay on the left side to get by there. Heavy delays back to Good Hope. You got northbound delays starting in Mayfair, clearing up after Silver Spring. I'm Kevin Henry, and that's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
One question we never hear answered in history class is, who was America's first slave owner? This week on Red Pilled America, we take a deep dive into the colonial days to find the shocking answer. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
Here's why. I'm Ken. I had pain and numbness in my leg from bulging discs.
Are you a football player or an actor?
No, I was operated on by a seemingly reputable doctor. He operated on the wrong side of my back. While digging around, he did substantial nerve damage. I now have permanent pain and numbness in both legs. A big advertising Wisconsin law firm wasn't interested in my case.
I'm Keith Trower of the Warshevsky Personal Injury Firm. After being rejected, Ken turned to us. Doctor and attorney Warner Rice helped to discover that the surgeon operated on the wrong side and misrepresented what he did, billing Ken's health insurance for a procedure that wasn't actually performed. Utilizing unique resources and skills, Warshevsky achieved a $2.9 million settlement by preparing Ken's case to win at trial.
And Warshevsky was instrumental in making sure that shameless doctor won't hurt anyone else. Warshevsky is a great law firm.
Injured? It is about the money. Warshevsky.com. 414-276-4970.
It is This Week with Annex Wealth Management. Dan O'Donnell alongside the CEO of Annex, Dave Spano. This week, a short one due to the 4th of July holiday. As we celebrate America's 250th birthday, investors, Dave, are celebrating the fact that despite uncertainty with Iran, things are looking pretty good.
Yeah, you think that people would be happy with the major celebration coming up, 250 years of the greatest country in the world. But you look at the markets and the economy. We just finished up an earnings season, Dan, that had 30% earnings growth on the S&P, and that's one of the tops that we've ever seen. You've got that going on. You got your new Fed chair in place, and think about the crude oil now down under $70 a barrel, below where it was when that conflict started. GDP growing, and expect a pretty good number when that comes out in just a few weeks. And the last thing is to think about, you're halfway through the season, halfway through the year. This is really a good time to say, let's assess what we have in our portfolio. Let's be thankful for what we have. But let's go through our portfolio and make sure that we are on track with all of this good information in front of us. It's not going to be a straight line up, but by the end of the year, we should be in a better position than we are even at today.
Yeah, and that's why you always need to, as you said, be aware of what it is that's in your portfolio. You just don't want to, what do they say, set it and forget it. That doesn't work. You need to be working with someone who is working with and for you as a fee-only fiduciary. You need to be a little bit more active in how you manage your portfolio, but we understand that that can be difficult, and that's where the pros at Annex Wealth Management come in. They will help you take a look at what it is that's in your portfolio, help you figure out what maybe should be, and it is absolutely free. That review of your portfolio at annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano of Annex, I'm Dan O'Donnell saying happy birthday, America. Here's to another great 250 years. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
I'm Tom Tiffany, and for some reason, Madison Democrats say I'm too cliche. Well, I did grow up milking cows on a Wisconsin dairy farm. My mom quilts. Hi. I've been a dam tender, boat captain, husband, and girl dad with perfect attendance at 20 Nutcrackers. I love the Packers, Brewers, Badgers, and of course the Bucks. Butterburgers, old fashions, everything Wisconsin except Madison politics. I'm Tom Tiffany. I'm running for governor to bring down the cost of living by cutting property taxes, utility rates, and red tape. By stopping institutional investors on Wall Street from buying our homes and big data from bulldozing our farmland. Finally, I will audit every state government agency to root out all the waste and fraud you and I both know is happening in Madison. Cliche? You betcha.
Paid for by Tiffany for Wisconsin.
Verneri award-winning home renovating.
How do you define strength? Is it physical? Or is it mental? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's whatever empowers a person to dig deeper, fight harder, and overcome obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Discover how much stronger and more confident your children can be. Encourage them to participate in a sport when they go to high school.
This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Always love that story. The Midnight Ride of Caesar Rodney. Just an incredible bit of forgotten history in this country. Folks, you have no idea how much this is making me want to bring back. I'm sure you've noticed we have not been doing forgotten history for quite some time. Folks, it is a whole lot of work to put those together. I do want to bring this back as a video podcast series to do forgotten history. I am loath to do what is very, very popular for history videos now on YouTube, AI, for lack of a better word, slop, where they'll have like George Washington walking around and stuff like that. First of all, our company is guaranteed human, so we're not going to use AI. So I may have to do the Ken Burns style of, still images and things like that. But I am so loving telling the stories of America. We also want to hear your stories, your reflections on America's 250th, 414-799-1130 on our Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line. We go out first to Bernie in Lodi. Bernie, happy Independence Day, happy 250, and welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Thank you, Dan. Same to you. There's always been debate about whether America is a quote-unquote Christian nation, whether it was founded as a Christian nation or not. But despite the debate, it is clear that even though our founding fathers, whether they were true believing Christians or not, they recognized a higher power and they recognized the value of Judeo-Christian values that would sustain a new country. And sadly, it is my belief that any society that turns its back on God or religion for that matter just kind of creates a vacuum for bad ideas. And I think that's where we are today. I'm reminded of, I think it was former the Soviet Union Premier Nikita Khrushchev, who was asked about world dominance of communism and what his goal, did he have Hitler-like goals of conquering the world and specifically America turning to communism? And he said he wasn't worried. He said that America would turn to communism on its own. And, it's just strangely prophetic when you see things like the political primaries in New York and things like that. And so,
absolutely. Hey, Bernie, I do apologize. We are running up against the top of the hour. I'll tell you what, happy 4th of July to you. I want to reflect on this. That is a fantastic call, Bernie. We're going to go in depth on what Bernie said after the top of the hour news. I do apologize, bud.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Milwaukee, an iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Haig, a former Olympian now indicted for alleged vandalism of President Donald Trump's reflecting pool paint job. David Hearn saying he reached into the water after noticing a piece of the blue liner had become partially detached. Zachary Fink now charged in connection to a police standoff last month in Whitefish Bay. He's due back in Milwaukee County Court August 5th. Business news. The Dow rallied 594 points, closing at a fresh record high. The S&P 500 finished the day largely flat. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac sports scoreboard, Packers fans could win a trip to a game if their caption wins the team's new Give Us a Sign contest. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Bob Haig on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Here's the latest forecast, powered by WillysWorldCustoms.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Another hot and humid afternoon with temperatures reaching the low 90s and heat indices nearing 100. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, possibly severe, expected this evening and overnight. Storm chances continue through the 4th on Saturday. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barakello.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
One question we never hear answered in history class is, who was America's first slave owner? This week on Red Pilled America, we take a deep dive into the colonial days to find the shocking answer. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
David Brownsdorf, president of Flawless Flooring, recommending iNet for web development and SEO.
That's all?
And graphic design, photography, and video.
That's more like it, Dave. Flawless installed luxury vinyl at 3 properties I own, including iNet. The 8 separate projects were easy, turned out beautiful, exceptional value, and are extremely durable.
But wait, there's more. iNet's creative genius branding and radio gives Flawless a unique identity, making us stand out. Hiring iNet is casting a net that pulls in customers your business wants and needs.
Clever, Dave. Haha. You just might have a future in radio ad writing.
My future is secure in flooring, partially because we cast our iNet 5 years ago.
Having Flawless replace pet stain and stink saturated carpet is a smell and sight upgrade, making every day more beautiful and less gross. Flawless Flooring, LLC.com.
Having iNet replace underperforming web, radio, and e-marketing enhances business opportunity for profitable growth. iNet-web.com. CreativeGeniusMarketing.com.
Freedom is carried forward. It's a right protected by the people. Celebrate our 250 years of freedom safely. If you see something, say something. Report suspicious behavior to local authorities. The right to celebrate, the duty to stay alert.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
Life moves fast, and it's easy to feel spiritually drained. That's why InTouch.org is here to help you stay grounded in God's Word every day. At InTouch.org, you'll find biblical teaching from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, free resources, and messages that speak directly to what you're facing. Whether you need encouragement, clarity, or a moment to reconnect with God, it's all right at your fingertips. Discover a place to grow your faith and find real hope at InTouch.org.
Can people see into your home or business after dark? If someone tried to break your window, how easily could they get in? Window Film Specialist Privacy and Security Window Film helps protect what matters most. Security films help hold shattered glass together, making break-ins more difficult while adding protection for your family, employees, and property. You'll also enjoy reduced heat, less glare, improved privacy, and protection from harmful UV rays. Proudly serving Southeast Wisconsin, call Window Film Specialist today at 888-950-0979 for your free consultation.
July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of American independence. The Great American State Fair becomes the center of it all. All 50 states, a national prayer moment. And that night, the largest fireworks display in the history of the world. There's never been a July 4th like this one. There never will be again. Plan your trip at freedom250.org. Freedom 250, the Great American State Fair, July 4th.
BlueMountainExpress.com. We will improve your move statewide. You're just a click away from listening to News Talk 1130 WISN in glorious digital clarity via the iHeart app. Click, enjoy, repeat.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Wisconsin.
This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
7 years ago,
I am a real American.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Fight for the rights of every man.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I am a real American.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Fight for the rights of every man.
We will make America proud again.
I am a real American.
We will make America safe again.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
And we will make America great again.
We are trying each and every afternoon to make America great. And this afternoon on the Dan O'Donnell Show, we are reflecting on this great nation at 250. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we are just celebrating 250 years since the ratification of the Declaration of Independence, since it passed the Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776. We are also marking 200 years from one of the most significant dates in American history, July 4th, 1826, that nobody quite gives its proper due. It is the only day that not one, but two American presidents passed away. Both were founding fathers. Both were on the committee of 5 that drafted the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. They were estranged for many, many years because of political disagreements. The election of 1800 was incredibly bitter and vitriolic, and it cast the two on opposing sides. Of course, Adams was the most prominent Federalist. He was the incumbent president, and Jefferson was the leader of the Democrats, or the Jeffersonian Democrats, and the two of them waged a bitter campaign. Eventually, Adams was forced to drop out. Aaron Burr emerged as the Federalist standard bearer, and the animosity lived on. But the incredible story about how those two men rekindled their friendship and the things that are much more important than politics in America, we will dive into coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Last hour, we told the story of the Declaration of Independence, why it is that July 4th, 1776 was such a seminal day in not just American history, but world history, and why many founding fathers, including Adams, believed that July 2nd, 1776 was actually going to be the day. That was the day that Congress formally declared its independence, that it voted and said on a resolution introduced by, I keep wanting to say Charles Lee, but that's not correct. He was a general in the Continental Army. He was a general in the American Army. Lee Declaration, or the Lee Resolution, I should say, was the thing that actually declared the independence. It was Richard Henry Lee. He was the delegate who actually introduced, all right, what do you say, boyos? Should we declare our independence? Let's get nuts. I think he said it a little more eloquently than that, but he was the one. And on July 2nd, thanks to the last-second heroics of a signatory of the Declaration of Independence by the name of Caesar Rodney. You've heard of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Well, one that actually might be much more important was very likely the Midnight Ride of Caesar Rodney. He cast the tie-breaking vote for Delaware to ratify the Declaration of Independence, to sign on to Lee's amendment to his resolution declaring independence. If that didn't happen, it is entirely likely, and historians are actually largely they're in agreement. Had Caesar Rodney not broken that tie and had Delaware said, nah, we're good, we're going to vote against independence, the independence movement might have been further splintered. It's one of the most incredible facts of the American Revolution that there were more loyalists, those who wanted to remain subjects of the British crown in the American colonies, than patriots, those who wanted independence. If you had Delaware not vote for independence, if Caesar Rodney, who was sick with cancer, he ended up dying 8 years later at 55, very likely of the cancer that he was suffering. He had asthma. He rode through an incredible thunderstorm. In fact, there is a letter that survives that he wrote to his brother in which he describes just how bad the thunderstorm was that he went through. Let's see. His direct quote was, though detained by thunder and rain, he arrived in time to cast his vote. Though detained by thunder and rain. People don't write like that anymore. And you know what? Quite frankly, I think they should. This hour, we are going to get you caught up on some of the stories that are going on in America in 2026, of course, but also reflections from you, our listeners, on America, where we are in this moment. And I think it's very poignant and it's very telling that we're dealing with the cancer that is anti-Americanism and the rise of socialism and unchecked, unfettered immigration, the reconquista, if you will, of America from the third world that is declaring that they are going to take it over and they are going to impose a form of government that they believe much better reflects their values, and that is socialism. By the way, did you see Zoran Mamdani, the most famous third worldist socialist in America right now, the mayor of New York City, saying New York is dealing with a heat wave just like we are here in Wisconsin. So he wants everybody to cool their thermostats, to set it at a comfortable 78 degrees. That's right. If you own a business, and by the way, the urban heat island effect makes New York City on sweltering days like this way hotter than it would otherwise be because of all the buildings, all the people, all of the concrete. This, by the way, is why global warming is a complete and total sham. The urban heat island effect has been skewing global temperatures for quite some time. I could do another hour and a half just on that. But suffice it to say, New York, there's a reason it's called Hell's Kitchen. Actually, I have no idea if that's the reason it's called Hell's Kitchen, but it just seems like it was named on a very hot July afternoon. It's because it gets really hot. Zoran Mamdani is saying, all right, because we're going to have way too much strain on the electrical grid, don't cool your houses or your businesses to a comfortable 72. I think that's generally speaking, maybe 71, 70. If you're my wife, you have it cooled down to about 65 degrees. She is like the anti-Zoran Mamdani. I am married to the ultimate capitalist because I swear our house is like an icebox half the time. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'm grateful for it. We had a caller, and by the way, we are taking your calls on the rise of socialism, on the last stand of Americanism, because we really are not in a grab your musket sense, facing our own version of a civil war, where we have a lot of people in this country who just don't share the values of this country, the values that we celebrate, the values that we honor, especially at the 4th of July, and especially in America's 250th year. This is why you get poll after poll after poll that shows Democrats just are not proud of this country. I don't think you can discount the fact that over the last 25 years, and we just had the annual patriotism survey coming from Gallup. They've been doing this every year for 25 years. They ask the same question: how proud are you to be an American? Well, Republicans, the number is always 90%. Say they are very proud or extremely proud. It's been that way for 25 years. Democrats have gone from 85% to about 27%. I don't think that exists in a vacuum. It coincides with the rise of racial socialism, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, the rise of pretty much every radical ideology that took hold in the 1960s and 1970s, but sort of bubbled under the surface. It was relegated to the fringes and maybe academia, but is now very mainstream. It is this race-based idea of colonizers and the colonized, the conquistadors and the conquered, the haves and the have-nots. It's all Marxist theory, but it's racially and ethnically tinged. You also have the period of American history where the doors were just thrown open, and without regard for any sort of how shall I put this? I keep wanting to say acclimatization. I've been reading for the last several months the book about the 1996 Mount Everest disaster, Into Thin Air. Not acclimatization, but the culturalization, the assimilation. That's the word I'm looking for. Without regard for the assimilation of people who are coming from places on this planet that just have a fundamentally different idea than we do. That's a dangerous thing. So we do welcome your calls. I want folks, you to call in this hour is largely going to be yours. Your reflections on this great nation, this country, where we are at 250. Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line 414-799-1130. You can also reach us toll free 1-800-838-9476. DOD@iHeartMedia.com is my email address. We had a great call right before the top of the hour from Bernie from Lodi, and I feel terrible that we had to cut him off because we were running up against the top of the hour. He made a fantastic point about the Christian basis of this, the Judeo-Christian tradition on which America was founded. In fact, you cannot understand America, you cannot understand Western civilization without that Judeo-Christian tradition, because all of our laws, all of our notions and standards of morality flow from that, not necessarily the overt religious aspect of the Judeo-Christian tradition, but our notions of what are and are not moral things that you can do. Pretty much every bit of Western understanding of right and wrong comes directly from the Ten Commandments. It just does, folks. It forms the basis of all government. It forms the basis of pretty much all of Western thought. And in fact, if you read the Founding Fathers, if you read the Federalist Papers, if you read pretty much anything any influential Western leader or academic has written from the Revolutionary period up until now, you can see the influence everywhere. I mean, look no further than George Washington's farewell address. George Washington's farewell is considered one of the most influential pieces of text ever, not just because of what he said. It was actually largely written by Alexander Hamilton. In fact, if you get a chance, I know, and I'm starting to feel the same way about Hamilton and the way that it basically started the whole race swapping of character. If George Washington can be black in Hamilton, then of course you can race swap any character in any bit of fiction or even nonfiction. But if you get a chance to watch Hamilton, it's on Disney Plus. The music is just absolutely spectacular. It is done. The story itself is such a loving ode to America and to what it is that we represent. In that piece, in that play, you get the actual writing of it's in a song called One Last Time. And it's about Alexander Hamilton trying to talk Washington out of saying goodbye and leaving and saying, you know, hey, you could just continue to be president. Nobody would mind. And Washington says, no. The tradition that he started, being given every lever of power imaginable. I mean, there was a move to make him king. They wanted to call him Your Excellency. You know what he came up with for the honorific for the presidency? He said, how about Mr. President? I mean, it seems, again, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. It seems so mundane, so simple. Like, why do we call the president Mr. President? It's because George Washington didn't think that the presidency should be a title of nobility, that he was the first citizen. In his farewell address, in his farewell letter, he refers to Scripture repeatedly. And he says, as the Scripture says, everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. So as he concludes, though in reviewing the incidents of my administration, I am unconscious of intentional error, I am nevertheless too sensible of my defects not to think it possible that I may have committed many errors. I shall also carry with me the hope that my country will view them with indulgence, and that after 45 years of my life dedicated to its service with an upright zeal, the faults of incompetent abilities will be consigned to oblivion, as I myself must soon be to the mansions of rest. I anticipate with pleasing expectations that retreat in which I promise myself to realize the sweet enjoyment of partaking in the midst of my fellow citizens, the benign influence of good laws under a free government, the ever favorite object of my heart, and the happy reward, as I trust, of our mutual cares, labors, and dangers. What he is saying is, once I step aside, once I say goodbye, the nation can move on. And the nation is more important than one man. The idea that one man would be the government or that one man would be the nation, that sort of flies in the face of Judeo-Christian teaching. It is So a lot of people misunderstand. Do you know why we have a wall of separation between church and state? Do you have any idea what that comes from? Is that in the Constitution? No. Is that in a Federalist paper? No. It comes from a letter that President Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1802 to the Danbury Baptists. Famous passage. Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people which declared that their legislature should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. That's it. That's it. That's the only reference to separation of church and state. That's it. And what Jefferson was actually talking about was that government can actually interfere with the free exercise of religion, that religion is between man and his God. He wasn't concerned that the Congress was going to suddenly create a theocracy. He was concerned that government was going to put up a barrier to the free exercise of religion. The idea, though, that and I believe our caller said, well, I don't know how faithful our founding fathers actually were. They all were. They all were. Now, some were deists. Some were a little more secularist in their beliefs, Jefferson among them. But all of them were Christians. I mean, it was a different period of time. And all of them used the Bible and used the Judeo-Christian tradition as the foundation for the nation that they were building. And our caller, Bernie, was absolutely correct in that when you take that away, when you have people who no longer believe in the morality that has served most human beings on earth for several thousand years, when you strip that away, you allow to seize power the idea that we are much smarter than all of humanity's collective experience, and that we can impose a new order based on our own understanding of morality, and that morality is what we say it is. Well, that flies in the face of what this country is actually all about. We will expound on that and take more of your phone calls. 414-799-1130 when the Dan O'Donnell Show returns.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Jammed eastbound on 94 from 76th over to 35th. Westbound delays between 27th and Hawley. Southbound 43 stopping and going Burleigh to the Marquette, and northbound from the Marquette up to Locust. I'm Kevin Henry, and that's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
One question we never hear answered in history class is, who was America's first slave owner? This week on Red Pilled America, we take a deep dive into the colonial days to find the shocking answer. Listen to Red Pilled America on the iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
At Ross Dental, your journey to smiling like you just don't care because you don't isn't paved with anxiety, discomfort, or judgment. People should be judged by the content of their character, not the straightness, color, or condition of their smile. No matter how much restoration required, Ross Dental's gentle, caring staff won't judge you. Ross Dental does cutting-edge laser dentistry, maximizing patient comfort and health. Laser removal of tooth decay requires 0 shots. For almost everyone, it's painless. Procedures are faster. No numb mouth, 0 shots. Smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com. Lasers don't churn up infected tissue. They kill bacteria, fungus, even viruses, dramatically reducing infection-spreading bioaerosols old technology drills cause. Laser dentistry is ideal for cavity treatment, and less collateral tissue damage treating gum disease or canker sores speeds up recovery. Ross Dental's convenient payment options, low, even no radiation imagery, and sedation dentistry eliminate every reason to neglect your teeth. Schedule your cleaning or cosmetic assessment today, and soon you'll smile like you just don't care, because you don't. rossdentalberlin.com.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Milwaukee Weight Loss knows the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day with no drugs or surgery and how to keep it off for good. Right now, get $200 off with the summer special for a limited time only. Go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com now to book your free consultation.
Dave Spano, CEO of Annex Wealth Management, a fee-only fiduciary.
Fee-only fiduciary who really further separates the folks that either say fiduciary some of the time or best interests altogether. And it's not just that alone. It is, of course, everything else that we can bring to the table that this just isn't asset management. It is estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, all of it wrapped together in one transparent fee.
Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management? Click the Get Started button at annexwealth.com.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your number one preset on our free iHeartRadio app, powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
Dedicated to providing right-minded candor on the issues that matter to you. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Conservative thought, not just talk. And today, a whole lot of patriotism. If you couldn't tell, if you're not watching the Dan O'Cam live stream, yes, I am in red, white, and blue garb, as is tradition here on the program. We are taking your calls pretty much for the rest of this hour. Your reflections on America at 250. Coming up at 5 o'clock, an essay I've been doing for quite some time. It's called July 4th, 1826, as we mark the 200th anniversary of a very significant yet long overlooked date in this nation's history. We also have a chance for you to win $2,500 in our USA 250K giveaway. That is coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, we go to Wauwatosa, where we find Ed. Ed, happy Independence Day and welcome to the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Happy holiday to you too, Dan.
What's going on, my friend?
I'll tell you what's going on. I've traveled this country, Dan, and I've been to every major city in America multiple times. This is the greatest country on earth. It really is. I used to watch these things on History Channel, and there'd always be some gray hair 60-year-old guy standing on top of a mountain talking about how great America is, how diverse it is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
Oh, yeah.
We live in a beautiful country. We've got all the water that we'd ever need. We have all the greenery, the forests, the oil, the natural resources. This is a great country. People want to come here. We're not looking to move to Mexico. We're not looking to move to Africa. They're coming here.
Yep.
Okay, Dan? And there's something to be said about that. You did say something, though, about Judeo-Christian values, and I kind of want to put my take on it. I don't know, when the forefathers wrote the Constitution, that there was a term Judeo-Christian. I don't think that the two cultures were mingling as much as, well, they certainly are today.
They weren't, but when we say Judeo-Christian, we mean the values of the Old Testament. Like it's basically the same basic value system. So yes, they would have understood it to be Christian values. Yes. But what I'm saying is do you know that the single most quoted biblical book in the Bible is actually not from the New Testament? It's no real surprise. It's Deuteronomy, because I
was going to say that.
Yeah, those were the laws. I mean, this was what they based the entire country on. So yeah, when I say Judeo-Christian, the founders would have taken that to be, oh, you mean Old Testament as well as New. So yeah, but it was a fundamentally Christian value system. Yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to throw this out there for the audience. We didn't have a common morality throughout America. You could be living in Appalachia where 13-year-old girls were brides to men who were in their early 30s.
Yep.
Okay. Then you go down the road an hour, and that was unacceptable in, let's say, Raleigh-Durham, or in maybe Baltimore, Washington, those parts of the South, right outside of Appalachia. So Jewish Hollywood kind of gave us. Everybody used to go to the movies. They used to go to the matinees, our grandparents, and they would talk about going to the Saturday and Sunday matinees. Jewish Hollywood wrote in a continuous kind of a common morality for America. And so we get a lot of our morality, believe it or not, from Hollywood years ago. Because like I said, depending on where you were at, things were morally acceptable or not.
At the same time, though, we did evolve to have common, say, criminal codes. So what you're talking about is true. That, okay, well, it would be acceptable for, children to get married. Remember, and this is probably going to be one of the more controversial things I say, and I guarantee it's going to be taken out of context. Throughout human history, people were getting married and people were being very, sexually active. They were having babies at 13, 14 because the life expectancy was so short. You needed to, the reason that the female body reaches not sexual maturity, but is able to sexually reproduce at such a young age is because biologically we needed to, because it's a very recent phenomenon that life expectancy is in the 70s. It's in the 80s that if you take care of yourself and you don't get cancer, obviously that's a big one, and you avoid, a car accident, homicide, drugs, suicide, the things that are artificially reducing America's life expectancy, because we factor in the kids who are, dying of overdoses at 22. If you get past that, people are living to 90, 100. That didn't happen for much of human history. So when you say we have, and yes, I did catch the Jewish Hollywood thing in there. I'm a little, I caught the very subtle anti-Semitism in there. Jewish Hollywood also made some of the most incredible Christian movies in world history. You know what? I'm not going to get into that. What happened, though, is that just like with, as we were telling the story of America's Declaration of Independence, that it sort of happened over a long process, the idea of having a common American morality sort of evolved. Remember, we had half of this country, the Democrat half, believe that it was perfectly fine to enslave other human beings. When you actually had Thomas Jefferson, the supposed great racist, according to the modern woke left, wanting to actually put in the Declaration of Independence, the slave trade is totally King George's fault. We didn't want to be a part of this. It is a great evil, and we're declaring our independence from that. The only reason that got taken out, and Jefferson was super ticked about that, by the way, was because they didn't think the Southern colonies would join the independence movement, would vote for the secession, would vote for the independence from Great Britain if it was. Let's go to Mitch in Bayview up next on the Dan O'Donnell Show. What's going on, Mitch?
Hey, how you doing, Dana? I've seen you since we honored you with that conservative activist.
Oh my goodness, Mitch! Do you realize I still have that trophy? That is.
Hey, man, listen.
Oh my gosh, what a great night that was! Thank you so much. That was such a sweet thing.
That was a great night, man. But listen, you were talking about socialism, man, and we definitely headed in that direction, and it's going at a rapid speed. I mean, no slowing down. Even with our streets here, with this Vision Zero, that's a part of a socialist movement to get us going in such a way that everybody's tunnel vision, slowing us down. This Vision Zero, and they got us with that socialist movement by planting fear, especially in a city, about reckless driving.
Yep.
Well, Dan, listen, and I know I got to hurry up.
No. Hey, dude, we're right in the middle of the hour, man. I mean, my producer is like looking at me like, how long is this segment going to be? Mitch, you've got as long as you want, my friend.
Well, it's only going to be a few more seconds. I'm trying to pour a whole quart into a pint. But listen, anytime they come in and they sell us this idea, right, about reckless driving, so everybody gets on board with it, Dan. But guess what? It actually claims more lives than the reckless drivers. Because guess what? Every time a paramedic has got to slow down, every time an ambulance has got to slow down or go around a roundabout or get in one of those bottlenecks, and you can't go to the right or the left, man, you stuck right there in the middle, and the paramedic. And guess what? If we could have got him here 6 minutes earlier, we could have saved her life. Grandma, we could have saved her from a stroke. We could have saved the guy that was bleeding out. You know, he bleeding out. If he would have been here 3 minutes earlier, we could have stopped him and saved his life. It's actually not waiting on some statistics to which they're burying, because I want to see the statistics on how many lives we're actually losing on Amalam arrival. That's a socialist movement. And one thing, you're talking Bill.
Okay, I'm sorry, you sort of lost me there. The movement against reckless driving is a socialist movement in the city of Milwaukee. Is that?
No, the Vision Zero.
Okay. I see. Yes, that is. Okay, Mitch, I'm sorry. You kind of lost me a little bit there. Yes, absolutely. It is the idea, dude. Mitch, I'm telling you, the idea is to get people to not drive cars. That is the ultimate goal. Like this is the goal of the socialist movement.
That these little scooters, Dan, we thought that these little scooters were here for recreation. It's to get us to cut back on, and they're pushing these electric cars, man. Look here, if an electric car, if they want to tell you to shelter in place, all they got to do is cut down the grids. You can't recharge cars all over the city, all over the place. It's a socialist movement. I don't know. Somebody want to control the lives of men. One more thing before I go. You talk about biblical. In the book of Judges, it says every man did what was right in his own sight because there was no king in the land. And guess what? We've kicked King Jesus out, and that's why everything is going crazy. Every man is doing what's right in his own sight. Yeah. And I appreciate you. Maybe I'll meet up with you somewhere at one of these meetings or one of these rallies, man. We'll shake hands again.
I would love to. Hey, please, if you see her, tell Virginia Pratt I say hi. You guys are incredible. I love the organization. Thank you so much, Mitch. Wow, that is a blast from the past. I love it. We want to take more of your phone calls. 414-799-1130. Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line. Dan O'Donnell Show coming right back with more conservative thought and not just talk.
From the Lynch Chevrolet of Kenosha Total Traffic Center.
43 southbound stopping and going from Good Hope to Bender and Burleigh to the Marquette, where you got a stall partially blocking the right lane. Northbound delays on 4394 from Howard up to the Marquette. I'm Kevin Henry, and that's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Infinity Exteriors. Infinity Exteriors has that new look you're looking for. Siding, windows, roofing, and more. All the latest styles come with a lifetime workmanship warranty. Join over 60,000 happy homeowners and get started at infinityexteriors.com.
It's a 9-day celebration that defines summer in our city. It's Summerfest 2026. More than 600 artists playing on 11 stages over 3 weekends, June 18th through the 20th, June 25th through the 27th, and July 2nd through the 4th, all at Meyer Festival Park on Milwaukee's spectacular lakefront. Mix in fabulous food, a few adult beverages, and several 100,000 of your friends, and you have the ultimate summer party. It's Summerfest 2026.
Just doing some roofing on another lovely Wisconsin day.
You know, there's just something about Wisconsin in May. The grills come out, the brats hit the flame, the flag goes up on the porch. Up north, the cabins are opening back up. The tarps are coming off the boats. My friends at Old Fashioned Roofing are part of that tradition. They're veteran-owned, real veterans, Wisconsin folks, not the kind of veteran-owned where some holding company throws a flag on a website. The kind who served, came home, and went to work. Building a company where a handshake still matters. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, no pressure. So this month, when you raise a glass and shake a hand, remember the folks who built their company the same way. Give them a call at 262-229-8909 or visit them at oldfashionedroofing.com.
So raise a glass, shake a hand for this old-fashioned brand. Whoa. That's old-fashioned roofing.
The first Top Shelf Country Cruise showed out. The bar's set at exceptional. Don't miss the second sailing in March 2027 aboard the luxurious Celebrity Summit, departing from Tampa with stops in Bimini, Key West, and Cozumel. Plus, performances from some of your favorite country artists, including Riley Green, Chris Young, Lauren Elena, and Randy Houser. Our price guarantee locks in your best deal the moment you book. No surprises. Don't settle for anything less than top shelf. Reserve your cabin at TopShelfCountryCruise.com.
Walking the dog, climbing stairs, dancing at your daughter's wedding, life is full of movement. But when hip or knee pain makes every step a struggle, it's time for expert care. When I couldn't take the everyday pain from my hip anymore, my first thought was to reach out to the team at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin to see what could be done. The pain was excruciating. I tolerated it, but it was time to do something about pain relief for my hip. It was the best decision I've ever made. I haven't felt this good in years. At Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, they provide specialized total joint replacement with same-day surgery and cutting-edge technology, so you recover faster and get back to the moments that matter. I was amazed at how quickly I was in and out of surgery and how well I recovered. Take it from me, don't wait. Book your appointment at orthowisconsin.com. That's orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go.
Hey, it's Jerry Butt. You know that feeling you get when you realize you're dealing with a company that cares about you, not just as a customer, but as a person? That's the overwhelming feeling I got when I bought my vehicle at Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac. The Holiday staff was attentive, patient, totally engaged, and they listened. That inspires confidence, and confidence inspires trust.
Shop Holiday's summer road trip sale. Score enticing offers on top of our low simplified price. And get more for your trade on a new Buick or GMC.
We are all looking for adventure.
Come be our guest. Take a test drive and get ready to travel the road ahead. Find yours and discover the difference at Holiday.
Living free, and I was meant to be free. Meant to be free.
Holiday Automotive Fond du Lac and at HolidayGMCBuick.com.
It's worth the trip.
iHeartRadio FIFA World Cup update.
Spain punches their ticket to the next round with a commanding win over Austria.
The flag has stayed down, and Spain coast into the round of 16.
Spain won the match 3-0. They have yet to allow a goal in the tournament. Action continues tonight with Portugal taking on Croatia at 7, and then Switzerland battles Algeria at 11.
Download the iHeartRadio app for live Fox coverage of every game.
Show summaries, podcasts, political tidbits, and the hottest photo galleries in radio. All available to you whenever you demand them at newstalk1130.com.
Go to newstalk1130.com for your summer of fun deal for the Heidel House in Green Lake. A 2-night room package plus a $200 food and beverage credit. That's an $800 value for just $400. Get your certificate now at newstalk1130.com.
Welcome back to the Dan O'Donnell Show on this, what might have been in another world, America's Independence Day. This was actually the day in 1776, 250 years ago today, that America's Continental Congress adopted the Lee Resolution, formally declaring independence from the United States. The Declaration of Independence was not the formal document. The Declaration of Independence was the document that explained the reasons for the separation, because it was widely disseminated and because it was just so beautifully written by Thomas Jefferson with some input from John Adams and Benjamin Franklin and a number of other founding fathers in a group of 5 that was commissioned with writing the Declaration. That is what we celebrate. And when the Declaration of Independence was ratified by the Continental Congress, it was immediately taken to an Irish immigrant named Dunlap, and the Dunlap broadsides where it was printed. Remember, this was the internet of the day. William Dunlap, worked all night long to print the Declaration. It went to to pretty much the entire country at the time, all of the colonies. And that is a big reason it spread like wildfire, because it was printed so quickly, and because so many people were just, they were overjoyed. In fact, during one of the readings in Philadelphia, there was something of a riot. People were going crazy because they were so happy. They were overjoyed. They were in a patriotic fervor. Benjamin Franklin predicted that America's independence would be celebrated with fireworks forever. And in fact, in a letter back home to his wife, Abigail, John Adams said that America would be celebrating July 2nd with fireworks. And what's kind of amazing is he was off by 2 days, and we are still celebrating America's independence with fireworks. In fact, we are going to have the biggest fireworks display apparently in world history on the 4th of July, as only Donald Trump can do it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have the biggest fireworks celebration. I believe the number is now 800 to 850,000 individual fireworks that are going on. Just absolutely incredible. And did I say William Dunlap? John Dunlap was the printer, the official printer of the Continental Congress. So, yeah. All right. We are taking your reflections on America's 250th birthday. Roger in Germantown, happy Independence Day to you, and welcome to the program, sir.
Same to you, and thank you. Generally, socialists in America look at Europe as a guiding light. And while they may not be completely socialist, they are far more socialist than we are. Countries like Germany, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom. So I'd like to point out some numbers that I get from the World Bank. So it's a very credible source of information.
Mm-hmm.
The World Bank says that the GDP, the gross domestic product per capita for the United States, is $84,500.
It's actually now $94,430 right now.
Okay, then my numbers are
close enough though. Close enough. Yeah, Roger, go ahead.
But using the same reference point, just rounding the numbers out to thousands, the USA at 84,000, France 46.
Yeah.
Germany 56.
Yep.
Italy 40. United Kingdom 53. Sweden 63. Why on earth would we want to go on a socialist route if it's going to make us poorer?
Well, and how about this? Roger, I'm sorry to interrupt, just really quickly. The nations and this is why I thought you were going to go this route. And I'm like, because I always get the comparisons with Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, the Swedish socialists and the Norwegians. I use the 94,000 number. The numbers I have for GDP per capita, Sweden, which is always held up. Oh my gosh, the standard of living is so much higher. 70,000. Okay. Denmark, 83,000. Norway does have a higher GDP per capita, meaning the gross domestic product of a nation broken down by all of its residents. Okay. That's about 110,000. Do you know why? Because everyone in Norway gets oil payments. And there are only about 5.6 million people in Norway. There are 340 million, give or take, in the United States. The fact that there are $94,430 in gross domestic product for each of those people is insane. Our GDP, according to 2026 projections, Roger, 32.38 trillion. The next largest, China, 20.85. All right. There's no people are like, oh, China's going to catch the United States. Like hell it is. Do you know what the AI boom is going to do to our GDP? We're going to get up to 40 and 50 trillion very, very quickly while the manufacturing world is sort of languishing. And I'm sorry, Roger, I interrupted you. What's going on?
No, may I continue with more numbers?
Yeah, please. Please. This is fantastic.
In terms of the GDP, the United States, this goes back 2 years, and website that I use goes back a couple more. So the USA GDP at 30 trillion, consumer spending 70%. So therefore, the consumer market in the United States is 20 trillion, or was 20 trillion.
Basically the same size as the Chinese economy. That's incredible, Roger.
The EU's, using the same dates, the EU's GDP was 20 trillion, 52% consumer spending because the government's taking the rest. So their consumer market is only 10 trillion. The European Union has as many people as we do, but their consumer market is only half of what ours is, which is why every country in the world wants to sell in America.
Yep. Roger, that is one of the best calls, I think. You know what? I want to get to Roger. Can you do me a favor? Can you email me these numbers, dod@iheartmedia.com? I would love to use these in some way, if that's okay with you. I do want to get to one more caller. Oh, thank you so much, my friend. Have a great Independence Day. What a fantastic call. Roger, I love that you do your homework on this. That was just fantastic. Please send me that email. Let's go to Paul in Racine. Just about a minute before we've got to go to break. Paul, you're on the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Happy 4th, Dan. Roger's call was interesting, and I dare say that the numbers he shared and what we experience in this country is not by accident.
No.
But by the grace of God. But I want to say this. I think nothing new under the sun. America at 250, we've had to fight battles since our nation founding to keep our freedoms, and that's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is how we fight them. And I applaud you for your efforts. I think I've shared with you that, the midterms are going to be very important. And I think you've gone above and beyond with your website and, making sure that all the candidates who are fighting this fight have visibility. And I would encourage everybody to continue to support the RNC, volunteer. They called me today, and just go forward in the spirit of Charlie Kirk. I looked at my freedom shirt today, and we got to remember that. And we got to understand that we're going to face that same level of a fight. So,
well, Paul, thank you so much. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for the kind words. Really do appreciate it. Keep fighting that good fight. Yeah, we are going to face increasing threats from within, from people who are getting increasingly violent, increasingly unhinged, and increasingly believe things that are fundamentally opposed to America's founding ideals. I'll tell you what, we're going to do an essay after the top of the hour on what American unity is actually about. And we're going to look back 200 years to July 4th, 1826. Stay tuned.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Heavy delays with Summerfest traffic, 794 northbound starting at Howard and continuing up to Oklahoma. 4394 northbound is jammed from Howard most of the way to the Marquette, and southbound on 43 from Burleigh to the Marquette. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
This is Lee Habib, host of Our American Stories. In our next episode, we'll share the tale of one small liberal arts college's huge response to the Civil War. You won't want to miss the next episode of Our American Stories.
Dan Voss from Cut and Go here. Spring of 1917, just 14 years after the Wright brothers' first flight, America, determined to darken the skies over Europe with 12,000 combat aircraft, set about crafting 100 million board feet of Pacific Northwest Sitka spruce lumber.
Sonny Voss here. The rest is history. American ingenuity, determination, and might rescued humanity from tyranny. Dad harnessed American ingenuity, developing the remote control, truck-mounted articulated grapples are Cut and Go uses to safely dominate landscapes.
Grind and Go is committed to your property being eyesore and trip hazard free. Cut and Go will take down dead trees for you to parse into firewood or chip for you to spread, or we can take with us.
Plant and Go designs historic treescapes, delivers them plants in time for you to celebrate your freedom this year.
Happy 250th anniversary. A Tons of Trees movement. CutandGoTrees.com. That's CUTNGO trees.com.
Selling your home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll make. Hi, this is Chris Leby with Lake Country Flat Fee. If you're still considering a 6% broker, you're paying too much. We deliver full-service real estate with expert agents and a 24-year track record. Smart sellers are keeping thousands more in their pockets. You should too. Our sellers save about 50% versus a traditional 6% broker. To learn more or to schedule a free market analysis, visit our website at lakecountryflatfee.com.
Do you owe the IRS or state back taxes? That stress hits hard. ClearPath Tax Strategies is local, right here in Wisconsin. The #1 team of experienced tax professionals who believe there's a solution to every tax problem. If you owe $20,000 or more, we can get you the lowest possible settlement. Call 262-786-4442. That's 262-786-4442. Call ClearPath Tax Strategies today and get relief.
From large manufacturer to local pizza shop and every business in between, Summit Credit Union helps your vision take shape with loan programs, great rates, and strategic solutions. Whatever you're building, you've got this. And Summit Credit Union's got you.
At Ross Dental, your journey to smiling like you just don't care because you don't isn't paved with anxiety, discomfort, or judgment. People should be judged by the content of their character, not the straightness, color, or condition of their smile. No matter how much restoration required, Ross Dental's gentle, caring staff won't judge you. Ross Dental does cutting-edge laser dentistry, maximizing patient comfort and health. Laser removal of tooth decay requires 0 shots. For almost everyone, it's painless. Procedures are faster. No numb mouth, 0 shots. Smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com. Lasers don't churn up infected tissue. They kill bacteria, fungus, even viruses, dramatically reducing infection-spreading bioaerosols old technology drills cause. Laser dentistry is ideal for cavity treatment, and less collateral tissue damage treating gum disease or canker sores speeds up recovery. Ross Dental's convenient payment options, low, even no radiation imagery, and sedation dentistry eliminate every reason to neglect your teeth. Schedule your cleaning or cosmetic assessment today, and soon you'll smile like you just don't care, because you don't. RossDentalNewBerlin.com.
Kesslers Diamonds.
Take a pause.
You may love letting your dog run loose on a beach, giving them a chance to sniff and roll in the sand and chase the waves, but
There's no good place or time for a dog to be on the beach.
Joel Cohen of the Sea Turtle Preservation Society in Florida, he's got concerns about what dogs can do to endangered sea turtles and the beaches where they nest.
Off-leash dogs have done horrible things. Bitten turtles, chased them back into the ocean, peeing all over the nests and the stakes, digging turtle hatchlings up and eating them or carrying them around in their mouth.
And Illicit Facet of Florida Aquarium Sea Turtle Rehab says the time you may enjoy on the beach could be a problem for the turtles too. Like those dents your tush leaves in the sand, they could create a barrier for turtle hatchlings.
Remove anything from the beach that you brought with you, also filling in any divots in the sand or sand castles, flattening them out to make the journeys up and down the beach easier.
Take pause. Jill Nato, Fox News.
All programs on News Talk 1130 WISN are broadcast through the NX Wealth Management Studios. NX Wealth Management. Know the difference. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN. Milwaukee, an iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Haig. A couple who climbed the Empire State Building Wednesday allegedly slept inside the night before and appear to have broken through a door. AAA projecting more than 1.4 million Wisconsinites could hit the road this holiday weekend. The Department of Transportation urging motorists to practice safe driving habits. That is, slow down, put your phone down, stay alert. Artist Mauricio Ramirez spent a couple of hours Wednesday restoring downtown Milwaukee's Giannis mural after someone tagged it. Checking the holiday automotive of Fond du Lac Sports scoreboard, the Reds got the better of Jacob Mizorowski this afternoon, beating the Brewers 7-2 at AmFam. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Bob Haig on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
This hour of the Dan O'Donnell Show is presented by Warshawski Law.
Insurance companies will fear your case with Warshawski. Injured? It is about the money. Warshawski Law.
Here's the latest forecast, powered by WillysWorldCustoms.com from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Another hot and humid afternoon with temperatures reaching the low 90s and heat indices nearing 100. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, possibly severe, expected this evening and overnight. Storm chances continue through the 4th on Saturday. I'm Fox 6 meteorologist Stephanie Barrichello.
This report is sponsored by Wisconsin Maritime Museum.
Built for war, preserved for history. Climb aboard USS Cobia, a World War II submarine. Walk through the quarters, imagine life at sea, and plan your visit today at wisconsinmaritime.org. Don't miss your chance to climb aboard history.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve, here to tell you about Grieve Civil Law. Life is unpredictable, but you can help your loved ones navigate dark days by preparing for the future now. Powers of attorney, wills, and trusts are all components to a robust estate plan that ensures your wishes are fulfilled. Do you think your estate is simple or should be executed using common sense? In many cases, the law cannot take into account how complicated families are. If you or your heirs are divorced, or if your heirs get divorced in the future, your assets may not go where you intend. Many people say that they will get a will, but they never get around to it. Their loved ones often pay for their lack of planning in the time and stress of probate, not to mention court fees. On top of their grief, they'll wrestle with red tape and resentment. Don't gamble your life's work. Don't gamble with your family's future. Protect your loved ones from legal battles. It's more than just a document, it's peace of mind. Contact Grieve Civil Law today, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. GrieveCivilLaw.com.
Can people see into your home or business after dark? Did you know most burglars gain entry by breaking glass? Window film specialists Privacy and Security Window Films help hold shattered glass together, making break-ins more difficult and providing added protection for your family, employees, and property. Plus, you'll enjoy reduced heat, less glare, improved privacy, and protection from harmful UV rays. Proudly serving Southeast Wisconsin. Call 888-950-0979 today for your free consultation.
50 states, one national mall, 2 weeks of freedom. The Great American State Fair opens June 25th in Washington, D.C. All 50 states. Live music and rodeo, innovation, arts, culture, and American patriotism. Every day brings a new theme celebrating the best of who we are, capped by the largest fireworks display in the world on July 4th. This is for every American. Admission is free. Plan your trip at freedom250.org. Freedom 250, the Great American State Fair. Be there.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
If you're looking for a place to grow spiritually in the middle of a busy life, InTouch.org is designed for you. Explore practical biblical teaching from Dr. Charles Stanley, daily devotionals, free study guides, and messages that speak to real-life challenges. Whether you're searching for direction, comfort, or a deeper understanding of God's Word, you'll find tools to help you take the next step. Discover resources that meet you right where you are at InTouch.org.
Our favorite four-letter word. Free. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Kowal Investment Group, now Creative Planning, is a registered investment advisor. Now for your business report from Creative Planning. For informational purposes only, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Good afternoon. This is Anthony Priester with your closing business report. The major averages were mixed as Wall Street closed out the shortened holiday week. The Dow hit a record high as investors reacted to a weaker than expected non-farm payrolls report for June, while semiconductors struggled, once again pulling down the NASDAQ. And shares of AeroVironment jumped 10% after the defense technology company won a $500 million contract with the U.S. Army to develop counter-drone capabilities. At the close, the Dow was up 594 points. The S&P 500 was flat. The NASDAQ was down 207 points. From Creative Planning, I'm Anthony Priester, wishing you and your family a happy and safe 4th of July weekend.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
7 years ago,
I am a real American.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Fight for the rights of every man.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I am a real American.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Fight for the rights of every man.
We will make America proud again.
I am a real American.
We will make America safe again.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
And we will make America great again.
Every time I hear this, R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. This, by the way, for those wondering, I actually had someone text in, "Hey, Dan, I'm loving the open that you've been using this week, but the song is just depressing. It sounds like a funeral dirge." I'm like, my brother, you missed an entire era of professional wrestling. This is Rick Derringer's Real American, which served as the late legendary Hulk Hogan's entrance song for many, many years. Interesting bit of trivia last year, Rick Derringer and Hulk Hogan actually died within a couple of months of each other. One of my all-time favorite songs. Maybe should we end the week just by playing Real American? Yeah, I know you're down. No, we're not going to play Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. What are you, a communist? That's a good song. I was a Derringer fan. That Real American is just, it's just such an incredible song. We are not just celebrating 250 years since America's founding. And really what I hope I have been able to convey today is that America isn't like, you can't mark one beginning of America. We mark the passing of the Declaration of Independence, when the Continental Congress formally ratified the Declaration, but America actually declared its independence. The vote was today. It was July 2nd, 1776. America is a constant evolution, and it is constantly at the forefront of liberty, of goodness, of virtue, and of togetherness. We lead the world in everything. Earlier this week, I did my annual look at how objectively, I can prove by any objective measure, America is the greatest country on earth. It always has been. But it's really something deeper. And 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but the signing didn't even happen until August 2nd and even later, if you can believe that. The ratification of the Declaration of Independence, one of the most significant days in American history. We are going to tell the story of July 4th, 1826, and the lessons that it can teach us today, coming up in just a second. Right now, though, the 250K USA giveaway. The nationwide keyword to win $2,500 is TRIP, TRIP, TRIP. You have got until 5:55 to go to our website and enter the keyword TRIP. If your entry is picked at random, you will have $2,500 in your pocket to go on a trip, Great American Road Trip, whatever you want to do. $250,000 we are giving away in 100 increments right up until 24 hours from right now, Freedom Eve, as it were, July 3rd, until we give away $250,000 to our listeners. All right. We would also like to take a few more of your reflections on America at 250-414-799-1130. That is the Carpetland USA Flooring Center talk and text line. You can email me, dod@iheartmedia.com. Again, follow us on social media at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook, Instagram. We are streaming live on YouTube, across social media. And please do subscribe to the Dan O'Donnell Show podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts, and Listen to every second that you miss live on the radio, because you might miss things like this. An ode to enduring friendship and what America is really about, as made clear 200 years ago on July 4th, 1826. July 4th, 1826. As his beloved nation celebrates 50 years of independence, a 90-year-old man lies on his deathbed. 50 years ago, he was instrumental in winning that nation its independence, but today, as he draws his final breaths, his final thoughts aren't of his nation, its independence, or of his own illustrious place in both. They're of his friend. 50 years ago, they stood together against the world's most powerful empire, declaring with one voice that they were endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these were life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. July 4th, 1776. A 40-year-old man stands in the Pennsylvania State House and nods approvingly. He has just been instrumental in convincing his fellow members of the Second Continental Congress to declare independence from Great Britain. And now, John Adams is watching his dream, the United States of America, come true. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, the words could not be more eloquent, the arguments could not be more persuasive, the Declaration of Independence could not be more perfect. Adams smiles proudly at his friend, a 33-year-old firebrand named Thomas Jefferson. The words were Jefferson's, but the arguments were theirs together. And in one voice, they had just started a revolution. Together, they had just won approval for one of the most significant documents in human history. Though history would remember Jefferson as the author, it was Adams who persuaded their colleagues to allow him to write the original draft. Any misgivings over one of the youngest delegates assuming such a monumental task were assuaged by Adams' faith in him. After America won its independence, the two grew even closer while serving as diplomats for the young nation in France. Yet theirs was a friendship as unusual as it was dear, since their political philosophies were as different as could be imagined. Adams advocated for a strong federal government, while Jefferson supported more authority vested in the states. While Jefferson noted that they were often, in his words, separated by different conclusions we had drawn from our political reading, they remained the closest of friends. As Adams wrote to Jefferson, "Correspondence with you is one of the most agreeable events in my life." July 4th, 1791. As his beloved nation celebrates 15 years of independence, a 55-year-old man stands in his office. John Adams is that nation's first vice president, and his good friend Thomas Jefferson is its first Secretary of State. They are as close as ever, and even their growing political differences in President George Washington's cabinet can't shake their friendship. 5 years later, even running for president against each other can't shake their friendship. In America's first contested presidential election, Adams defeated Jefferson in what was to be America's last presidential election that featured no mudslinging. As was the custom at the time, neither Adams nor Jefferson actively campaigned for the office. And as was the custom at the time, because Jefferson finished second in the race, he became Adams's vice president. But for the first time in their long friendship, their political differences would come between them. When Adams signed the controversial Alien and Sedition Acts into law in 1798, Jefferson was appalled. He believed that the president, a Federalist, was abusing the office and trying to criminalize his Democratic Republican Party, and he all but abandoned the Adams administration for his estate at Monticello, where he plotted to take his nation back from this new threat to liberty. July 4th, 1800. A 64-year-old man paces nervously in his office. President Adams has just read the latest smear from his former friend. Adams is a hideous, hermaphroditical character, which has neither the force and firmness of a man nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. Jefferson's allies were merciless. For the first time in American history, a presidential election was turning bitter, nasty, and personal. Adams's allies called Jefferson a mean-spirited, low-lived fellow, the son of a half-breed Indian squaw sired by a Virginia mulatto father. What were once different conclusions drawn from political reading were now outright slanders. Adams was a tyrant. Jefferson was a coward. Adams was a criminal. Jefferson was a weakling. Adams was a fool. Jefferson was an atheist. When Jefferson finally won the election of 1800 in a landslide, Adams retaliated by making last-minute appointments of men who Jefferson wrote were from among my most ardent political enemies. Politics had finally ended their friendship. July 4th, 1811. As his beloved nation celebrates 35 years of independence, a 75-year-old man sits in his living room thinking about a guest he has just had in his home. A neighbor of his old friend turned sworn enemy Thomas Jefferson. It's been 2 years since Jefferson followed Washington's example and retired from the presidency after his second term, but Adams still can't forget about the ugliness of the 1800 election. Still, something is gnawing at him. Even after all the ugliness, even after all of the political differences that somehow mutated into bitter personal insults, he still misses his friend. And he had told Jefferson's neighbor, "I always loved Jefferson and still love him." When Jefferson heard his neighbor say this, he wrote to one of his and Adams' old friends, Dr. Benjamin Rush, a fellow signer of the Declaration of Independence, to say, "This is enough for me. I only needed this knowledge to revive towards Adams all of the affections of the most cordial moments of our lives." When Dr. Rush relayed this to Adams with the message that Jefferson wanted to write him again, Adams was overjoyed and sent Jefferson a letter immediately. Jefferson sent one back, and the two resumed their friendship through hundreds of letters, discussing everything from their revolutionary days to their time in France, to politics, to their families, to their thoughts on aging and mortality. Though politics had made them bitter enemies, their love and respect for each other made them friends again. July 4th, 1826. As his beloved nation celebrates 50 years of independence, a 90-year-old man lies on his deathbed. 50 years ago, he pushed that nation toward independence and persuaded Congress to let his friend write the Declaration. 35 years ago, he was that nation's leader and his friend was his vice president. 15 years ago, that friend was his sworn enemy. But today, as he draws his final breaths, his final words are about his friend. Thomas Jefferson survives. Adams could not have known that Thomas Jefferson had died 5 hours earlier. July 4th, 2026. Our beloved nation is once again divided over bitter personal politics that have ended friendships by the hundreds of thousands. Loyal opposition has become hostile resistance, while reasoned discourse has devolved into hate tweets. Our beloved nation has unfriended itself. Our president is a tyrant. His opponents are cowards. He's a criminal. His opponents are weaklings. His supporters are stupid. His detractors are crazy. All of us, though, each and every one, bears responsibility for not giving in to the temptation to see disagreement as dislike and opponents as enemies, even those opponents we once considered friends. We can pretend that this moment is unprecedented, that our president has never before abused his authority so dangerously, or that his opponents have never before smeared him so viciously, but we can't escape the fact that hostility has been a hallmark of American politics almost since the dawn of American politics. They have always been bitter, they have always been nasty, and yes, they have always been personal. There have always been those who seek to capitalize on this, to demonize instead of criticize, and to stoke the flames of hatred for political gain. And there have always been friends who have fallen for it. There have always been friendships that have ended over it. And even our beloved nation's most beloved leaders have not been immune. Yet the friendship of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson survives. Through the most bitter, nastiest, most personal of politics, it stands on July 4th, 2026, as it did 200 years ago on July 4th, 1826, as a poignant reminder that no friendship is immune, but all friendships are repairable. On July 4th, 2026, we no longer send letters to mend our broken ties, but we can send a text. We can, like Adams and Jefferson, declare our independence from our own bruised egos and recognize that politics doesn't have to be personal. That when we lie on our deathbeds, as we breathe our last, our final thoughts won't be of our politics, they'll be of our friends. Because ultimately, our relationship with one another is all that really matters. On July 4th, 1826, as our beloved nation celebrated 50 years of independence, its last two surviving founding fathers, its last two surviving links to July 4th, 1776, breathed their last, not as bitter rivals, but as friends. Friendship, not politics, was all that mattered to them. Friendship, not politics, was all that they remembered. And all that we should remember. Because on both July 4th, 1826 and July 4th, 2026, friendship, American unity, like Thomas Jefferson, survives.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Very heavy 4394 northbound, starting down at Holt, continuing up to the Marquette, and on to 43 northbound to North Ave. 4145 northbound, you're heavy from Watertown Plank up to Silver Spring. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Infinity Exteriors, the best lifetime workmanship warranty, fully transparent pricing, and over 60,000 happy customers. At Infinity Exteriors, they're on a mission to save communities from unscrupulous contractors. InfinityExteriors.com.
Dan O'Donnell here for the Lynch family of dealerships, where my family just went for our new SUV. I could not possibly be happier with the way it rides, with the incredible price and terms, and especially with the customer service. No pressure, no pushiness, just people like Maddie and Michael and the whole team at Lynch Chevrolet of Mukwonago who genuinely wanted to help us find the perfect vehicle at the price that fit our budget. Let the entire Lynch family take care of your family. Visit shoplynch.com.
This is Patrick Lynch. Join us for our America 250 celebration at the Lynch family of dealerships. Since 1957, we've proudly sold and serviced American brands. Shop the best deals of the year. Hundreds of Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Ford, and Lynch protected vehicles. Deals as low as 0% for 5 years, no payments for 130 days, and receive a $250 gas card. Plus, enjoy a full tank of gas on us. Visit us at shoplynch.com. I want you to love how you feel in your new ride.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
No matter what business you're in, as the #1 SBA lender in Wisconsin, Summit Credit Union helps your vision take shape with loan programs, great rates, and strategic solutions. Awarded #1 SBA lender by the Small Business Administration of Wisconsin in 2025.
Make News Talk 1130 WISN your #1 preset on our free iHeartRadio app. Powered by Gruber Law.
One call, that's all.
Injured?
Remember, one call, that's all.
It's a 9-day celebration that defines the summer in our city. It's Summerfest 2026. More than 600 artists playing on 11 stages over 3 weekends, June 18th through the 20th, June 25th through the 27th, and July 2nd through the 4th, all at Meyer Festival Park on Milwaukee's spectacular lakefront. Mix in fabulous food, a few adult beverages, and several 100,000 of your friends, and you have the ultimate summer party. It's Summerfest 2026.
A place where freedom of speech and freedom of thought live on. Stay informed all day, every day on News Talk 1130 WISN.
July 4th, 1826 is available in written form. The script I was working off of, it is up at the Heartland Post, heartlandpost.com. We, of course, have it up on my social media at Dan O'Donnell Show on X, Facebook, wherever you can find social media, you can find me. 200 years ago, almost to the day, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams both died. And in fact, it is documented that Adams' last words were, it's disputed whether it was Thomas Jefferson survives or Jefferson survives, but the clear context was at least Jefferson still survives, meaning at least the nation still has Jefferson. Right? Because they knew they were the last two. Everybody else, every other signatory of the Declaration of Independence, every other signer had died. They were the last two. The fact that they were the closest of friends, they were incredibly close as they were working as French diplomats during the Revolutionary War and working to secure French support. If they didn't get support from the French, the revolution would have not succeeded. The colonists just did not have the financial support. They did not have the naval support. They basically were running a guerrilla campaign in essence until French forces basically met them. I believe it was Yorktown. It was shortly before Yorktown. I mean, French money was coming in to support the revolutionary effort, but it was at Yorktown when basically the French Navy arrived and the British were ultimately forced to surrender. It was Marquis de Lafayette was a key leader in that battle, but it was Jefferson and it was Adams in France convincing the king there, King Louis the 16th, I believe, who would ultimately be killed in 1789, 1790 in the French Revolution. Hey, folks, the French Revolution coming just 13 years after the American Revolution, it very quickly devolved into the terror. It showed just how badly things could have gone in this new nation. As you know, you had Robespierre and you had people who were attempting to essentially hijack the revolutionary movement for themselves, and they were assassinating their political rivals and things like that. The fact that America, yes, did have to fight a war against Britain, to be expected. And then we essentially fought the sequel shortly thereafter in the War of 1812. But the fact that we did so largely bloodlessly, and what I mean by that is that there was no sort of factional violence like arose after the French Revolution, is a testament to just how solid the principles that these men came up with were, and the fact that they really truly believed them with all their hearts about what government should be, what government must be, that government has to be of, by, and for the people. That, as Jefferson wrote, government has to derive its just powers from the consent of the governed. That ultimately the power is all with the people, not the people like in the French Revolution, a mob, right, that can be taken advantage of, but the wisdom of democracy and not pure democracy. That's another thing. The founders were very concerned about how a majority could rule just as tyrannically as a king could. So they explicitly put in provisions that made America a specific form of democracy where you would have majority rule, yes, but only in very, very small elections for state houses and also for the House of Representatives. Remember, we did not have statewide elections for federal office until much later, until the 17th Amendment provided for the direct election of United States senators. At the time of the founding, in order to give the states more power for direct representation in the United States Congress, senators were actually picked by state legislatures. They weren't elected by the state. They were just picked. We dramatically moved away from that. And the founders were very concerned about an entire state, especially a big state like New York or a Massachusetts back in the day, where you would have this faction tyranny sort of rise up. They were very worried about the direct election. The Electoral College was a direct result of this fear that majority rule was not something that could work for this country, because you would have the big states, New York, Massachusetts, and what they were really worried about, actually, this is why I always laugh when lefties say, well, the Electoral College, it's a vestige of the racist past. No, it actually wasn't. It was a way to limit the power of the slave-holding states, as was the so-called 3/5 compromise in the U.S. Constitution, where slaves were counted as 3/5 of a person. If they were counted as a full human being for the process of apportioning electoral college votes and House members, the South would have dominated. There would have never been any concessions towards the abolitionist movement. There would have never been the abolition, probably, of the North Atlantic slave trade in, 1802, 1803. Because you would have just had the southern states being able to dominate, and the southern states would have had inordinate power in electing president. It's very likely you don't have an electoral college, you don't have a 3/5 compromise. Abraham Lincoln is never elected president, because the southern states, which again, seceded. South Carolina seceded as soon as Lincoln was elected. It was like he was elected in November, I think it was November 6th of 1860. And by December 20th, South Carolina was like, peace, we're out. This guy's going to take our slaves. We're done with this country. All of the concessions that were made and all of the forms of how this nation would be set up and how the government would be worked were designed to limit and perfectly designed to limit power. Why we have three separate but equally powerful branches of government. And now in actual practice in 2026, the executive branch is far and away the most powerful branch of government. It's not even close. But it too is still subservient to Congress. If Congress says, all right, Trump, you have got to get out of Iran now, ultimately, subject to war powers resolution and all of this, the president has to go. If the president does something that the Supreme Court says, okay, unconstitutional, like just for example, we had a major ruling on birthright citizenship, major ruling. It was that the president cannot issue an order effectively ending something that is enshrined in the 14th Amendment, that if you are born in this country, you are a citizen of this country. What did Trump say? What did Trump say? He was directly asked about this a couple of days ago. He said, well, you know, if it's the Supreme Court, if they rule that we can't do this, you got to abide by it. This is a long way from, was it Andrew Jackson, who said of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court after he ruled against him on some action that Jackson was undertaking in the 1820s. He said, well, he's got his ruling. Now let's see him enforce it. Jackson, of course, was powerless to stop the Supreme Court then, just as the Supreme Court is powerless to stop, say, the executive branch. All the Supreme Court can do is declare whether something is constitutional or not. And something has to go through the federal court process in order for that to work. Like all of these branches in government working in tandem to limit the power of any one person, to limit the power of any one faction is just absolutely incredible in how finely tuned the American system actually is. All right, we're going to step aside for a break. You are listening to a special edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show, Reflections on America's 250th.
Now, here's traffic from Tri-City National Bank, your hometown bank. Call the Tri-City Total Traffic Tip Line at 414-944-5111.
Very heavy 4394 northbound, starting down at Holt, continuing up to the Marquette, and on to 43 northbound to North Ave. 4145 northbound, you're heavy from Watertown Plank up to Silver Spring. I'm Kevin Henry. That's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grandview Homes. Your schedule is already full. Selling a house can feel overwhelming, but Grandview Homes makes it simple. They buy houses for cash as is, with no repairs or clean out. Take what you want and leave the rest behind. Get your no obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com.
My radio show was very popular, but the Jay Weber podcast is turning out to be some of my best and most insightful work. This is really good stuff. Twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Jay Weber Podcast is presented by Creative Planning, a comprehensive wealth management approach for all elements of your financial life. Your team awaits. Find the Jay Weber Podcast every Tuesday and Friday on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Think about this, 2027, less than 6 months away. 2016 was 10 years ago. COVID was 6 years ago. If you have a kid who was born in 1990, they're only 14 years away from turning 50. And 2007 is further away than 2040. Time is moving pretty fast, so don't keep waiting for one day. There's no better time than now to start your journey, especially if you want to lose weight. I'm Dave Michaels. I lost weight, 15 pounds. I did it working with Milwaukee Weight Loss. They're a doctor-supervised, drug-free alternative designed for people who want real, sustainable weight loss without relying on ongoing monthly prescriptions. You can schedule your free consultation at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com or give them a call. They're very nice people. 262-433-4007. 262-433-4007. Results may vary.
Dave Spano, CEO of Annex Wealth Management, a fee-only fiduciary.
Fee-only fiduciary who really further separates the folks that either say fiduciary some of the time or best interest altogether. And it's not just that alone. It is, of course, everything else that we can bring to the table that just isn't asset management. It is estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, all of it wrapped together in one transparent fee.
Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management? Click the Get Started button at annexwealth.com.
Do you owe the IRS or state back taxes? That stress hits hard. ClearPath Tax Strategies is local, right here in Wisconsin. The #1 team of experienced tax professionals who believe there's a solution to every tax problem. If you owe $20,000 or more, we can get you the lowest possible settlement. Call 262-786-4442. That's 262-786-4442. Call ClearPath Tax Strategies today and get relief.
Dan Voss from Cut and Go here.
A tree planted in 1646 was instrumental to freedom you enjoy today.
For a decade, Sons of Liberty, including Paul Revere, Samuel Adams, and John Hancock, gathered under the Liberty Tree for meetings, speeches, and celebrations.
I'm Willow Voss. Makes me wonder what the historical significance trees Plant and Go plants might have hundreds of years from now.
If our oppressors didn't cut the Liberty Tree down, Cut and Go would meticulously manicure it for America's 250th anniversary. Cut and Go's remote-controlled, truck-mounted, articulated grapple saw operators will meticulously manicure your trees, removing damaged branches, limbs, even whole trees, getting your property ready to celebrate God's gift, America. Grind and Go removes eyesore, trip hazard stumps, and Plant and Go will implement a maximum beauty and benefit new, potentially historic tree planting plan.
Happy 250th anniversary, a Tons of Trees movement. CUTNGOtrees.com. That's cutandgotrees.com.
Dan O'Donnell here, my friends at Old Fashioned Roofing, a veteran-owned Wisconsin tradition where a handshake still matters. Find them at oldfashionedroofing.com.
That's Old Fashioned Roofing.
The game's more intense. The goals more meaningful.
Malik Tillman!
This is what 2026 FIFA World Cup is all about.
iHeartRadio and Fox Sports are bringing you every match of FIFA World Cup 2026
live.
Seattle, we're coming back. Team USA is through to the round of 16.
Don't miss the game. Monday night at 8 Eastern. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search
World Cup.
The world is listening.
Are you? iHeartRadio FIFA World Cup update.
Spain punches their ticket to the next round with a commanding win over Austria.
The flag has stayed down, and Spain coast into the round of 16.
Spain won the match 3-0. They have yet to allow a goal in the tournament. Action continues tonight with Portugal taking on Croatia at 7, and then Switzerland battles Algeria at 11.
Download the iHeartRadio app for live Fox coverage of every game.
From Wisconsin to the world and everywhere in between, the Mark Belling Podcast, my take on everything. Season 2 is underway. New episodes drop Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday on iHeart or wherever you get your podcasts.
No radio handy? No problem. Listen to WISN's live audio stream 24/7 via the web. Just click on the Listen Online tab at newstalk1130.com.
Got a great email here from Ron. You have totally ruined your historical reports with incessant, obnoxious, sappy piano, quote-unquote music. Had to turn it off. Happy 4th of July to you too, Ron. Turn up the hearing aid if you must. The music is what really, I think, gives it a little oomph. Yeah, put it up there. Put it up. Just for Ron. Oh, my gosh. Too funny. These are my listeners, ladies and gentlemen, and I am thankful for each and every one of them and the occasionally very pointed critique coming from them. Supernatural literally popped in my inbox as I was coming back from break. Happy 4th, Ron. Teja Della Ruel is the radical trans activist who apparently has been fired now. She was working as a campaign volunteer for Katrina DeVille. She is the trans Democrat candidate for Congress running against Tony Weed in the Green Bay area. And the New York Post was able to get a hold of DeVille after Teja Della Ruel went viral yesterday for saying truly unhinged things on social media like, kill your local Republican and we need to start a trans jihad where we target members of MAGA. DeVille got back to the New York Post and said, hey, yeah, we actually fired this volunteer campaign worker when it became clear that they were insanely mentally imbalanced. Shocker. Della Ruel, meanwhile, I just love the fact that it's Della Ruel and Katrina DeVille. Do we not have any transgender people with like the name Nancy? Like, is there not just like a normal, like, here's Jen. I'm going to pick as my trans name Jen. It's always like they all, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Della Ruel went to social media last night to vent about being outed for being a violent psychopath and said, yeah, I'm only saying things that everybody else says privately.
I think what I hate the most is that how many people personally agree with me, and then like especially in private, and then when it comes to shove, I'm left to get cooked. I'm just left to get cooked and fried.
Yeah, this is actually English, by the way. I had my staff and I listened to this like 3 times to be able to figure out what they, them were saying. And it is, I am just left out to get cooked, even though everybody agrees with me privately. So listen very, very carefully. Should I put some piano music behind this to make it even harder to listen to?
I I think what I hate the most is that how many people personally agree with me, and then like especially in private, and then when it comes to shove, I'm left to get cooked. I'm just left to get cooked and fried. Like, I think that's what's crazy. All I ever have done and say is what people have said. Like, all I did was give it a camera of what people were saying. And that's enough. That's enough to condemn me, I guess.
No. Saying, I want to kill your local Republican and we're going to have a trans jihad. And apparently there was even more deranged stuff on this person's Substack. That's enough to get you out of politics. The problem is there are people like this, and this is obviously somebody who is very deeply disturbed, okay? This is somebody who exists outside of the normal sphere of American politics. However, their worldview is increasingly mainstream in the Democrat Party. It is a worldview, communism, that is fundamentally at odds with Americanism, fundamentally at odds with everything this country has long stood for. That's a big, big problem. When you have got just 30% of one political party saying that they're proud to be an American, and a nearly identical 30% saying, yes, we want our candidates to be open socialists. And by the way, these are not socialists like, oh, yes, happy Norwegian and Swedish socialists. Those aren't socialist countries, okay? Venezuela was a socialist country. It collapsed. The Soviet Union was a socialist collection of countries. It collapsed. These are people who want to do the exact same thing, who want to govern in the exact same way, who want to seize the means of production from private evil capitalists and claim it for themselves and run it into the ground. The fact that the Teja de la Ruels are finding a place in the Democratic Party, albeit briefly. Apparently, there is something as too nuts for the Democratic Party today. You are seeing already what happens when people like this come to power. Mega viral tweet yesterday from Mayor Zoran Kwame Mamdani. New York, it's hot out there and the power grid is working overtime to keep us cool. Set your AC to 78 degrees, turn off lights and electronics you're not using, and unplug what you can. Our city is doing its part too, maintaining the 78 degrees rule in our buildings, dimming and turning off our lights during peak electricity demand, asking private partners to do the same, and powering down non-essential equipment. A stable grid means the AC stays on and lives are saved. Let's ease demand and get through the heat together. Now, what happens when not enough people voluntarily turn up the thermostat to 78 degrees? This sounds like it's something that isn't a huge deal and people are making way too much. What happens if Mamdani believes that he has the power to enforce the 78-degree thermostat rule when it's 95 degrees outside with a feels-like temperature of 106? 78 degrees, ladies and gentlemen, still feels like a sauna when it's that hot outside. Now he's saying, okay, well, we hope that you will do this out of the goodness of your hearts and to, I don't know, save the planet, as every socialist, it seems, of any renown in this country flies private. You have to turn up your air conditioning in your 200 square foot New York City flat, in your studio apartment where it's like a bed, a microwave, and the toilet is downstairs. It's like a flop house. It's like a dorm. Like New York City, how many people are living in basically dorm rooms and crappy dorm rooms? But yes, we're going to save the planet together. What happens, though, if and when someone like Mamdani believes that they have the power to enforce those regulations at the tip of a bayonet? When it comes to socialists, oftentimes that's literal. That's what happens. As my producer Eric says, it sounds like Britain. Yeah, it kind of does, unfortunately. The reality is that those sorts of suggestions, those sorts of ideas become mandatory. As more and more communists gain power, more and more oppressive regulation follows. And more government tyranny is ultimately the end result. The only way that socialism can be enforced, because it is such an anti-human concept, it runs contra to human nature. It has to exist. It has to be enforced under the threat of or use of violence, state violence. That's the only way it works. You've got the commies now saying, oh, state violence, that we can't get a health insurance policy. It's state violence that our health insurance claim was denied. No, that's not state violence. State violence is you being rounded up and taken to the gulag for re-education because you don't think that the thermostat needs to be turned to 78 degrees. Folks, make no mistake. Of all of the threats that we face as a country, this is the greatest one. The mainstreaming of an ideology and the importation of people who subscribe to that ideology, or at least are cool with that ideology, that is fundamentally at odds with everything America stands for and has always stood for. This is America's next battle, and whether we realize it or not, as we embark on our next 250 years, we are already fighting it. We will be back to wrap up a special edition, America at 250, of the Dan O'Donnell Show, coming up next.
From the place you want to go, Lynch McGuanago Traffic Center.
Independence Parade closure in West Dallas. Greenfield, both directions between 84th and 68th should be open by 9 p.m. And you also got closures in place for Summerfest. Those should all be reopened by Sunday. I'm Kevin Henry, and that's your latest Total Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Grandview Homes. Wherever the roads take you today, trust matters close to home. Every neighborhood has its own story, and Grandview Homes knows them well. Having bought thousands of houses for cash in the communities they serve, they're a buyer you can trust. Get your no-obligation offer at grandviewhomes.com.
Verneri award-winning home renovating.
Here's why. I'm attorney Keith Trower of Warshevsky. You don't ever want a multi-million-dollar injury. If you're seriously injured and represented by a sign and settle firm, insurance companies are in the driver's seat, and your multi-million-dollar injury may be reduced to a multi-thousand-dollar injury.
I'm Ken.
Ken, are you an actor or are you a football player?
No, real person permanently injured by a fraud-committing doctor who operated on the wrong side of my back, making pain and numbness far worse and permanent. I had to hire someone else because the first law firm I went to turned me away. That was a lucky day because I hired Warshevsky instead.
Warshevsky's elite investigators, trial attorneys, and legal experts will prepare your case to win at trial from day one.
Insurance companies value your claim based on the quality of your attorney. My $2.9 million settlement proves insurance companies respect and fear Warshevsky at trial.
Injured? It is about the money. Warshevsky.com, 414-276-4970.
Ross Dental's extremely accurate laser dentistry saves irreplaceable tooth, is painless for most patients with 0 shots or anesthesia. If fear of pain has prohibited you from smiling like you just don't care, Ross Dental is pain-free, judgment-free, cutting-edge dentistry. RossDentalNewBerlin.com.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
I'm your biggest fan.
Oh, well, thanks.
The way you talk about employee-free, Hassleus showroom, free next-day delivery, and prices that are way low. I mean, nobody does it better.
I don't know what to say.
Say that I can get a free box spring.
Okay. Now through Monday, at Hassleus, get a free box spring with the purchase of any Sealy Posturepedic or Beautyrest mattress.
I have that tattooed on my...
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassleus.com.
I'm Tom Tiffany, and for some reason, Madison Democrats say I'm too cliche. Well, I did grow up milking cows on a Wisconsin dairy farm. My mom quilts. Hi. I've been a dam tender, boat captain, husband, and girl dad with perfect attendance at 20 Nutcrackers. I love the Packers, Brewers, Badgers, and of course the Bucks. Butterburgers, old fashions, Everything Wisconsin except Madison politics. I'm Tom Tiffany. I'm running for governor to bring down the cost of living by cutting property taxes, utility rates, and red tape. By stopping institutional investors on Wall Street from buying our homes and big data from bulldozing our farmland. Finally, I will audit every state government agency to root out all the waste and fraud you and I both know is happening in Madison. Cliche? You betcha.
Paid for by Tiffany for Wisconsin.
I'm attorney Tom Grieve with Grieve Law. If you're charged with drunk driving, you're not just looking at a ticket. You're looking at a permanent mark on your record that can affect your career and your ability to rent a car or travel internationally, not to mention the